Free Speech TV is in their fund drive right now, their fundraising drive, and so it would be a great time for you to call 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, and of course you can go to the Free Speech TV website and donate there as well. Please be sure to mention the show. There are a lot of great goodies that Free Speech TV is offering right now as part of the funds drive, and in fact, there's quite a few. But the important thing is to call 877-378-8669. Here's some information on one of the things that you can get. With a $20 contribution, and $20 may not sound like a lot of money, but you know, to Free Speech TV, actually it is. This is an entire television network that runs on a little tiny budget. With a $20 contribution, you get a Free Speech TV sticker, 3x8 clear window with the logo of Free Speech TV. Please call now. 3 days to Christmas, including today. I mean, you know, until Friday and the end of the day. Friday is the beginning of, you know, for many of us, our Christmas holiday, right? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So here we are. We have 3 days, and you can make your Christmas gift or holiday gift, as the case may be, to Free Speech TV now and today only. Here on Wednesday, the 19th of December, today only, your gift will be doubled. A group of generous and anonymous donors have organized themselves to give $15,000 to Free Speech TV if we can hit that today, 15,000. And that's a big lift, but I think you can do it. If you have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV, if you have not yet stepped up to the plate, if you have not yet participated with Free Speech TV, here's a chance to have a huge impact with even the smallest gift. Even a $10 gift will have a substantial impact today because it'll be doubled. Your $10 gift becomes $20, your $100 gift becomes $200, your $400 gift becomes $800, your $1,000 gift becomes $2,000. Whatever you can afford to give, Free Speech TV needs your help. We need to keep this network running, and we need to keep, you know, the great programming on Free Speech TV on the air. There's really important stuff that we talk about here. You know, well, I'll talk about it on the air today, but, you know, the situation in Syria, you know, it looks to me like Trump is just throwing the Kurds to Turkey, to Erdogan, in exchange for Erdogan shutting up about Mohammed bin Salman, because Trump and his son-in-law need money from the Saudis and their friends, the Emiratis. Where are you going to hear that? I mean, this is like, they're just, and as I said, I'll be talking about that on the air today, but this is the ability, I can't tell you how valuable this is to me. I had a conversation years ago with the head of programming for one of the big television networks here in the United States, who was considering putting me on the air. And basically he said to me, there are certain areas you can't talk about on our network. And basically I said to him, then, you know, I have no interest in being on the network. Free Speech TV, when Free Speech TV first approached me about being on Free Speech TV, I said, I have always been independent. Even when I was with Air America, I had a contract that guaranteed my independence. When I was with RT, I had a contract that guaranteed my independence. I will not go on a network that doesn't say that I can say anything I damn well please. I mean, you can kick me off ultimately, but you know, you can't tell me what to say and you can't censor me. And Free Speech was like, that's cool. And I was like, sign me up. So here we are. And You just don't find that. I'm telling you, people who have not been in the media business don't realize what a big deal this is. This is huge. And, I've watched friends of mine literally sell out to go on big networks. And it just breaks my heart. It's so important that Free Speech TV keep going. This network, this independent network, this nonprofit network, this network that is supported by you and not by Boeing or ExxonMobil or Koch Industries. This is really important. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, you get the Free Speech TV window sticker. And by the way, that becomes $40 because everything's doubled today. With a $60 gift, you get the Tag You're It coffee mug. I have not gotten mine yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a ceramic mug, a nice, a really high-quality mug. With the $72 gift, you get a copy of the new edition, the 2018 release of Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight by me. With the $120 gift, you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt and sticker. With a $240 gift, you can sign up for, or you can participate in this webinar that Louise and I are doing on personal growth, relationships, and NLP. With a $360 gift, and again, these all get doubled. Your $360 gift becomes $720. With a $360 gift, you get 5 books. It's our 5-book special, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, which is, I've mentioned earlier, Unequal Protection, my book about the Supreme Court, the 14th Amendment, and how corporations took over America. The Thom Hartmann Reader, Rebooting the American Dream, my book of 11 policy prescriptions that Democrats should embrace today to win elections and to transform America back into what it was before Reaganism. And, of course, Greg Palast's The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. And with a $480 gift, you get everything I just mentioned, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, Unequal Protection, The Reader, Rebooting the American Dream, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, Free Speech TV T-shirt, the sticker, the Thom Hartmann Tag You're It coffee mug. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, hang out here in the studio, and you can watch the show happen. And I'll give you a guided tour, show you the equipment room in the back. It's like stepping into the Starship Enterprise. Well, it's not that fancy actually, but all the wires and stuff. And you can see how we do this show, and meet Nate and Sean and Shira, and have a great time. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Oh, and with the $1,000 gift, then after we have the show, we'll go over for lunch. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. Thom Hartmann here with you. And sure, I'm not seeing our guest on the board. I'm gonna open the system producer and see if I can get him up that way. Oh, there he is. Oh, never mind. Thank you. Okay, we got a lot in the news today. The president is selling out the Kurds in Syria, and Lindsey Graham and a number of other Republicans are having nothing to do with it. Apparently, Erdogan is saying, hey, I'll stop picking on Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia if you'll just let me kill all those Kurds. We'll get to that in a little bit. A lot of other news in the world today. Yesterday, the administration, the Department of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms just issued a new regulation saying that if in 90 days from now you own or sell bump stocks, these are the things that allowed the Las Vegas shooter to kill 58 people really, really rapidly. They basically turn a semi-automatic weapon into an automatic weapon. That if you own or sell one of these things, you're looking at 10 years in jail and $250,000 in fines. On the line with us is Craig J. DeLuz, the legislative and public affairs guy at Firearms Policy Coalition, a pro-gun group. Firearmspolicy.org is the website. You can tweet him at Craig DeLuz, D-E-L-U-Z. Craig, welcome to the program.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So I don't get it. The bump stocks allow people who want to murder a lot of people to do it really, really fast and really, really efficiently. They take semi-automatic weapons, even, like AR-15 semi-automatic weapons that are technically weapons of war, up to weapons of screaming warfare. Why What conceivable reason could you have for defending these things?
All right. Well, first of all, I think a number of your statements demonstrate that you probably know very little about firearms. The first thing is
You're
that
wrong.
I didn't interrupt you, so you don't interrupt me.
Craig, it's my show. I'll do whatever I damn well please. Go ahead.
Starting number one. Number one. The first thing to note is that it does not turn into an automatic weapon. An automatic weapon is defined as one trigger pull and multiple rounds come out. A semi-automatic firearm is one trigger pull, one round. A bump stock does not turn. It does not in any way change that. So that's the first.
Wait a minute. How's that possible? I mean, by your definition, one trigger pull. If you've got a bump stock, it's right. It's basically a spring recoil device that has got the gun banging against your finger, doesn't it?
It still requires multiple trigger pulls. But
that's a technicality. I mean, it allows bullets to come out of.
Legal definition. That is the legal definition. That is the legal definition of what the difference between a semi-automatic weapon and an automatic weapon. Now, the AR-15, by the way,
that's not the assertion that the ATF is making, though.
It was not designed for the military. It was designed for the individual, for the consumer, not for the military.
For the mass murderer consumer.
So let's put it this way. There's only been one incident where a bump stock has been used. One. There have been multiple mass murders where other firearms were used. And by the way, although they didn't include bump stocks. Now, understanding that your ignorance of firearms aside, understand that when something is defined in statute, and machine guns are defined in statute passed by the legislative branch. They're the ones who write the laws, in case you didn't know. The executive branch, which is the ATF, does not get to change those definitions that are in statute. They don't get to do that. And that's, in fact, what the president ordered the ATF to do, was to redefine machine guns to include bump stocks. Well, that's a violation of the separation of powers.
Craig, you're much more well versed on the law in this than I am. Notwithstanding your snarkiness here. But my understanding was that this was, from what I've read, and I've only read it in the press. I have not read the actual regulation. But what I've read in the press is not that they're saying when you put a bump stock on an AR-15, you have turned it into a fully automatic weapon. What they're saying is it has the effect of turning it into a fully automatic weapon. In other words, more bullets come out of the barrel faster, you can kill more people more rapidly, which raises the larger question, why the hell do we have weapons of war on the streets of America to begin with?
Well, and once again, you demonstrate you call them weapons of war. Well, Glock,
that's what I'm calling them.
A semi-automatic handgun is used in war. Define what is a weapon of war, please. I mean, since you seem to,
why are you defending weapons that can kill a lot of people really rapidly? I don't understand this. What is in it for you? What do you care about here? What's driving you to want to defend the weapon that by and large would only be used by a mass murderer? Or now I've gone to shooting ranges and fired fully automatic Uzis and Thompsons and whatnot, and it's great fun. I get that, and I've got no problem with somebody even having a bump stock in a shooting range if it were legal, but a range is a whole different thing than walking out into the public or kicking the window out of a hotel in Las Vegas and taking out 58 people. Why would you want that? Why do you want that in the streets of the cities where you're walking?
No one wants that, and I think that it is disingenuous for you to assume or insinuate that someone does. The issue.
Then what is the reason that you're defending these?
I was about to tell you before you interrupted me. See, the thing is that. Understand this, that a lot of gun owners that I know, I don't own a bump stock. And quite frankly, I don't want to own a bump stock. But the problem is this, is that if we allow this president to violate separation of powers, to break the law in order to ban something that we don't care about or that we don't even like, then what's to stop him or a future president from doing the exact same thing to a firearm part that we do care about?
Congress explicitly authorized the ATF to regulate firearms.
If they are allowed to do this with, say, a bump stock, which is a firearm accessory, then what's to say they can't do it with a trigger group? What's to say they can't do it with a certain stock? What's to say they can't do it with various different firearm parts? There's absolutely nothing. And all we're saying,
Craig, are you taking the position that Brett Kavanaugh takes?
If you think these things are bad enough, then you need to go through the legislative branch. You need to pass a law, and that's how you need to do it.
Okay, so hang on just a second here. Brett Kavanaugh is making the argument that the vast and has made the argument in D.C. when he was on the bench in the D.C. circuit, and this is something that a number of these Federalist Society judges are very into these days, is that if the empowering legislation, in the case of Kavanaugh, he's talking about EPA, but in your case, we'd be talking about ATF. If the legislation that authorizes EPA to regulate pollutants, just uses that word, or if the authorizing legislation that authorizes the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Department to regulate weapons, guns, in quotes, if that regulation doesn't explicitly say, in the case of EPA with Kavanaugh, doesn't explicitly say methane, carbon dioxide, it doesn't explicitly name the chemicals, then the agency doesn't have the authority to do it. That's his legal perspective. It sounds to me like you're taking that exact same argument and applying it to ATF. Do I have that right?
Once again, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to in terms of Brett Kavanaugh, but it sounds similar. The fact is that the legislative branch writes the laws. Because how do you know, in that particular case, how do you know what is a, quote unquote, under the definition of the gases or whatnot that they're regulating? In this particular case, there is a specific definition of what is a machine gun in law, passed by the legislative branch. We're not talking about...
But that's not what ATF is using to ban these.
We're not talking about a regulatory agency defining something that's not already defined in statute. We're actually talking about them redefining.
That's not what ATF is using to ban these. They're using their authority to regulate guns broadly and gun accessories. I mean, this is a gun accessory that they're regulating.
They're redefining something that's already defined in statute.
No, well, the ATF is given by statute the ability to write regulations.
It's not like they are defining something that is undefined, that they're filling in a gap, that's a loophole that's left open via left open in this particular case. What they're doing is they're redefining something that is already defined, and they don't get to do it. It would be just like telling them, well, you can redefine what is a religion.
Right, except that I don't think that there's a Bureau of Religion. But Craig Deleuze, Legislative and Public Affairs guy with the Firearms Policy Coalition, firearmspolicy.org. You can tweet him at Craig, DELUZ. Craig, thanks for being here. Thanks for dropping by.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye. We'll be back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Well, his poor behavior notwithstanding, it's an interesting argument. Your thoughts on this and more right after the 16 minutes past the hour. And welcome back. Craig, watching Free Speech TV in Crawfordsville, Indiana. Hey, Craig, what's on your mind today?
It's Carl.
Oh, Carl, I'm sorry. You're right, it is Carl. Yep.
I had a question. You one time said that Scalia used some words from an anarchist in determining that everybody should have a gun, the right to have a gun in their home. And I didn't get who you said that was.
I don't recall, Carl, excuse me. I'm sorry, I don't recall.
Okay, that's what I wanted to add. I had another one. You on Sirius XM, you're no longer on at 12 to 1.
Right.
What happened there?
I can't really talk about what's going on with our affiliates. It's just not appropriate. But I'm hopeful that situation will change one of these days soon. But I don't have any control over that. Whatever our individual affiliates do is up to them. It's not up to me.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Carl, thanks a lot for the call. So this whole bump stock thing, this is fascinating. The argument that Craig Deleuze seems to be making, if I get this right, is basically that the ATF does not have the authority to regulate guns, even though that authority is explicitly given to them in the law that authorizes them. And by the way, that legislation was passed in like the 1930s, as I recall, when the ATF was created, maybe the 1920s. It was back in the days of Bonnie and Clyde. He's saying that they don't have the right to write these regulations, which, is explicit in the law. It's the same thing with the EPA. The EPA explicitly has the right to, here's how it works. If Brett Kavanaugh is right, and this is this new legal theory, by the way, that you're going to see popping up all over the Supreme Court in the near future. If Brett Kavanaugh is right, and Congress, when they say to the EPA, the case of Kavanaugh, they say, okay, EPA, you have the authority. We don't have the time. We, Congress, do not. I mean, we got all kinds of laws to pass, all kinds of things to look at, government to run. We don't have the time to bring hundreds of experts before us, take thousands of hours of testimony from expert witnesses, and figure out exactly which gases where should be regulated or which guns how should be regulated. We just don't have the time to do that. I mean, we're just Congress. We're just 535 people, and we are 435 in the House and 100 in the Senate. We don't have the ability to do that. So we're authorizing you, EPA, and you, ATF, to bring forward your expert witnesses, to take the testimony, to make an informed decision, and to write regulations that protect us from, atmospheric destruction or poisoning, or protect us from weapons that can kill lots and lots of people really fast, because we've got a problem with that in the United States. So that's what Congress says. And then the Brett Kavanaughs and the Craig DeLuzes, apparently, of the world come along and say, but wait a minute, you didn't mention the word bump stock in that law. No, of course not. I mean, bump stocks probably didn't even exist when the legislation authorizing ATF came along. So this is the weird logic that is being followed here. I find it just bizarre. We'll be right back. It's 20 minutes past the hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program, helping you win the water cooler wars. So pick up your calls. I also want to talk about Syria and a bunch of other stuff. There's some big stories today. Stick around. We'll be right back. Recap this very, very quickly, because I think I finally understood. I was trying to figure out, why would any guy want to come on a radio show and say, yeah, we should have more weapons that kill lots and lots of people really, really fast on the streets of America? It seems crazy. The argument that Brett Kavanaugh is making, well, let me back up and just, repeat a little riff that I just did during the break. Congress doesn't have the time, right? I mean, you got the whole spectrum of America that Congress has to worry about, everything from budgets to guns, to the environment, to food, you name it, right? Congress doesn't have the time to be saying, well, nitrates in meat cause cancer. How much nitrate would be an acceptable amount? Oh, there's another chemical that causes cancer in processed meats. And by the way, we know this to be the case now. How much should that be? So what Congress does is they say to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, you do the studies, you bring in the expert witnesses, you take the thousands of hours of testimony. We don't have the ability to do this. We're Congress. You do that, and you come up with regulations and rules that will appropriately keep the public safe from getting colorectal cancer or breast cancer or prostate cancer when they eat processed meats. They say to the EPA, you bring forward the expert witnesses and you determine if carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. They don't even say if carbon. You determine what greenhouse gases are and you figure out how to regulate them, because we don't have the time, nor do we have the expertise. And they say to the Department of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, you are authorized, and this was back in the 1920s or 1930s when ATF was created, you are authorized, Bonnie and Clyde are out there shooting people up, John Dillinger and whatnot. We got a problem. You guys call the expert witnesses. You figure out what kind of guns should be legal or illegal in the United States and what gun accessories associated with them and what kind of bullets and should we have 50 caliber guns, and should we have, should people be able to hold shoulder-fired launchers and et cetera, et cetera. You make that decision. You regulate guns, ATF. Now, comes along these lawyers in the Federalist Society, And I don't think Craig DeLuz has any association with them, but because he's just a gun guy. But the logic that they're saying is, and Brett Kavanaugh actually ruled this way. He was overruled. It was a 3-judge panel on the D.C. Circuit. He was one vote out of 3, and he lost. But the argument that he made with regard to greenhouse gases was that because the legislation that authorizes the Environmental Protection Agency to look into greenhouse gases doesn't specifically say, and by the way, please regulate carbon dioxide. Because the legislation doesn't say that. Instead, it says, you guys bring in the experts, you figure out what's going on. We don't have the time to do it. But because the legislation didn't name carbon dioxide, Brett Kavanaugh said, therefore the EPA cannot regulate it. Which is exactly the same thing that Craig DeLuz is saying, because the ATF's authorizing legislation that says you regulate guns doesn't specifically mention bump stocks, they can't be regulated. In my mind, this is a complete BS argument, both from Brett Kavanaugh with regard to the EPA and with Craig DeLuz with regard to ATF. The other thing I wanted to add, and I want to get to this fairly early in the show, because I would love to hear your thoughts on this, and also the whole Facebook thing. If you want to, people are freaking out that Facebook is just giving not just our information, our private messages to each other are being shared with over 100 companies. It's bizarre. But with regard to Syria, Jared Kushner needs $1 billion. It looks like he's trying to get it from Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, who are like, close, tight like thieves is the old expression, good buddies. Saudi Arabia wants Turkey to shut the hell up about Mohammed bin Salman murdering Jamal Khashoggi. Thank you, Sean. Jamal Khashoggi's in the Turkish embassy, in the Saudi embassy in Turkey. They want him to shut up. They want Erdogan to shut up. So first Erdogan, this is how it looks to me. Tell me what you think. First Erdogan says to Trump, give me Gulen, give me the dissident cleric that is living in Pennsylvania, and I'll shut up about Saudi Arabia. Because Trump and Jared Kushner, his son-in-law and his daughter, desperately need money from Saudi Arabia and from the Emirates. And probably wants to build a Trump Tower there. Probably has a development deal in the background. We just discovered that he actually signed that development deal for Trump Tower. So then that story gets exposed, and Trump says to Erdogan, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can't give them to you because, the news is talking about it. I was going to, but I can't. What else would you like? And Erdogan says, well, I hate the Kurds. He's got all these Kurds on his southern border who want to create their own independent country. And he's been for years trying to kill his own Kurds. But, he's part of NATO, and you just can't quite do that. You can't commit genocide in your own country. But the other half of Kurdistan is in northern Syria, right on the Turkish border. And those Kurds are the ones who helped us fight ISIS. That's where our troops are. We're protecting those Kurds. And Erdogan says, pull out of northern Syria so that I can go in and slaughter the Kurds. And Trump says, okay, cool, we'll do that. That's what it looks like to me, and that's what it looks like to a lot of other defense experts. And if so, if this is being done as a transaction so that the Trump organization and Jared Kushner can get money out of the Middle East, or if this is being done as a transaction because we just signed a $3 billion deal with Turkey to sell them advanced missiles, which we just did yesterday, if that's what the hell is going on, we've got a serious problem. Anyhow, we'll pick up your calls after the break. What do you think about bump stocks? What do you think about Syria? Are you going to delete your Facebook app? We'll get into all these things in more detail as we go through the program today. Stick around.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Coming up on 28 minutes past the hour, your calls are next. Stick around. Thank you. 3 days to Christmas, including today. Until Friday and the end of the day. Friday is the beginning of for many of us, our Christmas holiday, right? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So here we are. We have 3 days, and you can make your Christmas gift or holiday gift, as the case may be, to Free Speech TV now and today only. Here on Wednesday, the 19th of December, today only, your gift will be doubled. A group of generous and anonymous donors have organized themselves to give $15,000 to Free Speech TV if we can hit that today, 15,000. And that's a big lift, but I think you can do it. If you have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV, if you have not yet stepped up to the plate, if you have not yet participated with Free Speech TV, here's a chance to have a huge impact with even the smallest gift. Even a $10 gift will have a substantial impact today because it'll be doubled. Your $10 gift becomes $20, your $100 gift becomes $200, your $400 gift becomes $800, your $1,000 gift becomes $2,000. Whatever you can afford to give, Free Speech TV needs your help. We need to keep this network running, and we need to keep, the great programming on Free Speech TV on the air. There's really important stuff that we talk about here. I'll talk about it on the air today, but the situation in Syria, it looks to me like Trump is just throwing the Kurds to Turkey, to Erdogan, in exchange for Erdogan shutting up about Mohammed bin Salman, because Trump and his son-in-law need money from the Saudis and their friends, the Emiratis. Where are you going to hear that? I mean, this is like, they're just, and as I said, I'll be talking about that on the air today, but this is the ability. I can't tell you how valuable this is to me. I had a conversation years ago with the head of programming for one of the big television networks here in the United States, who was considering putting me on the air. And basically he said to me, there are certain areas you can't talk about on our network. And basically I said to him, then, I have no interest in being on the network. Free Speech TV, when Free Speech TV first approached me about being on Free Speech TV, I said, I have always been independent. Even when I was with Air America, I had a contract that guaranteed my independence. When I was with RT, I had a contract that guaranteed my independence. I will not go on a network that doesn't say that I can say anything I damn well please. I mean, you can kick me off ultimately, but you can't tell me what to say and you can't censor me. And Free Speech was like, that's cool. And I was like, sign me up. So here we are. And you just don't find that. I'm telling you, people who have not been in the media business don't realize what a big deal this is. This is huge. And, I've watched friends of mine literally sell out to go on big networks, and it just breaks my heart. It's so important that Free Speech TV keep going. This network, this independent network, this nonprofit network, this network that is supported by you, and not by Boeing or ExxonMobil or Koch Industries. This is really important. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, you get the Free Speech TV window sticker. And by the way, that becomes $40 because everything's doubled today. With a $60 gift, you get the Tag Your It coffee mug. I have not gotten mine yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a ceramic mug, a nice, a really high-quality mug. With the $72 gift, you get a copy of the new edition, the 2018 release of Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight by me. With the $120 gift, you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt and sticker. With a $240 gift, you can sign up for, or you can participate in this webinar that Louise and I are doing on personal growth, relationships, and NLP. With a $360, and again, these all get doubled. Your $360 gift becomes $720. With a $360 gift, you get 5 books. It's our 5-book special, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, which is, I've mentioned earlier, Unequal Protection, my book about the Supreme Court, the 14th Amendment, and how corporations took over America. The Thom Hartmann Reader, Rebooting the American Dream, my book of 11 policy prescriptions that Democrats should embrace today to win elections and to transform America back into what it was before Reaganism. And, of course, Greg Palast's The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. And with a $480 gift, you get everything I just mentioned The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight on Equal Protection, The Reader, Rebooting the American Dream, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, Free Speech TV t-shirt, the sticker, the Thom Hartmann Tag Your It coffee mug. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, hang out here in the studio, and you can watch the show happen. And I'll give you a guided tour, show you the equipment room in the back. It's like stepping into the Starship Enterprise. Well, it's not that fancy actually, but all the wires and stuff. And you can see how we do this show, and meet Nate and Sean and Shira, and have a great time. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Oh, and with the $1,000 gift, then after we have the show, we'll go over for lunch. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, 34 minutes past the hour. For those of you who are new to the program, I've been debating conservatives on this show for 15 years, and somebody on Twitter said, why do I have to listen to a gun lobbyist? And my simple answer is so that you and others, and maybe you don't need to know this, but a lot of other people do, whether it's debating homophobes or debating, gun freaks or debating, pick your poison, so that you can learn, so that I can model how you can talk back in a way that's civil, in a way that doesn't leave blood on the floor, in a way that you could even talk back to Uncle Ralph over Christmas dinner, next Tuesday. That's one of my goals with this program, is to help us all learn how to rebut the BS. And, hopefully we're doing that. Steve in Chicago. Hey, Steve, what's on your mind?
Yes, I wanted to make the point with regard to your previous guest that we need to look at the intent of the law as it was written. I mean, we have all sorts of examples wherein people circumvent the law because, quite frankly, the technology and behavior gets ahead of the law sometimes.
Yep.
People would send images of children. They were engaged in trafficking of children and their imagery online. Technically, we had not prohibited that because the law at the time did not take into account the internet because no one had conceived of the internet. We had to catch up with that behavior in terms of the law. In terms of this case, we have to look at the intent of the lawmakers. What was their intent? Their intent was to prohibit the sale and possession of rapid-fire weapons. And what does a bump stock do? It circumvents the law because technically he was right in that, yes, it doesn't turn a semi-automatic into a fully automatic weapon, but it almost does that.
Well, and it can actually do that. It can actually do that with a 1-inch piece of dowel. All you have to do, or frankly, a coat hanger. All you have to do is attach it to the bump stock, wrap it around the trigger, very lightly so that it's not quite pulling the trigger. You pull the trigger once, the bump stock pops back, and it keeps pulling that wire, that coat hanger, that dowel, and boom, you've got a fully automatic weapon. One trigger pull,
right.
The entire clip gets emptied.
Exactly, and that's my point, is that what was the intent of the lawmakers? And as you pointed out, I mean, we're not going to have, Congress meeting every time we discover that parts per billion of X chemical should now be banned. Otherwise Congress would never get anything done.
Although that's what Brett Kavanaugh wants.
That's exactly my point. And that's why we need to ask ourselves, how legitimate is this argument given the intent of the lawmakers? The intent of the lawmakers was to keep people from having guns that can shoot rapidly in a fashion that is commensurate with fully automatic weapons. So even if you concede that this is not a fully automatic weapon, it is close enough there where it violates the intent.
Yeah.
And therefore, it is perfectly legitimate to ban this. So, I mean, I don't understand the argument he's making other than, the splitting of hairs, because these are people that are strict constructionists, relative to the Constitution.
Right.
And of course, if you want to use that as the logic, that means you have to throw out the intent of the lawmakers.
Well, and you have to also ignore, if you want to go to 40,000 feet and look at this, where did the original authorizing legislation for alcohol, tobacco, and firearms come from? The general welfare provision of the Constitution. One of the purposes of government is to promote the general welfare of the people. If people are being shot at as they walk down the street, their welfare is endangered. I mean, so
Exactly.
this is clearly not only legal but constitutional. Steve, I got to move along, but thank you for the call. Lisa in Niles, Ohio. Hey, Lisa, what's up?
Hi, Tom. I'm calling about the previous viewer also. I've really about had it with certain political people picking things apart and taking one talking point to rip up common sense legislation that was made for a reason, to protect the people it serves.
Yep.
Now, just in Wisconsin, the voters spoke. You got certain people taking stupid talking points to cripple what the voters want. We can sit here and argue over a talking point for days. Fox News makes a 24-hour business out of it. Or the government can serve the people.
Yep.
Which is it going to be? Are we going to stick with common sense, or are we going to argue constantly like Fox News does? And I've just about had it with these insane arguments. These people take common sense and turn it upside down on its head.
Here's the good news, Lisa. The good news is that this is last gasp behavior. Brett Kavanaugh going after the EPA, this guy going after ATF. This is last gasp behavior. This is what you do when everything else has failed and you know public opinion has turned against you, and they're not going to prevail. When even Donald Trump, who is arguably is in office in part because the NRA took $30-40 million from the Russians and spent it on coordinated campaigns with dark money in order to promote Donald Trump's candidacy in Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, et cetera. Even when he says bump stocks are wrong, you've got that there's a serious issue here. Lisa, thank you for the call. Well said. Joe in Bradenton, Florida. Hey, Joe, what's up?
I just want to say that if we don't make laws like Australia, this country is going to see more mass massacres in schools and public places.
I absolutely agree.
That's it.
We get 30,000 gun deaths a year in the United States. Australia, very, very few, because they just basically tightened up their gun laws. You can still buy a gun in Australia, but you've got to jump through some hoops. And they did a huge gun buyback program. This was all after the 1997 Port Arthur massacre in Tanzania, or however you say the country. Or the island off the southern coast of Australia. People were just horrified by it, and they said, enough. And spot on, Joe. Australia does not have this problem. You said it very well. Richard in Evanston, Illinois. Hey, Richard, what's up?
Hi. I also wanted to talk about the guns. I think it's a mistake to talk about only the 59 people that were slaughtered, but because the other number is there were 527. I think that is the additional people that were injured. I cannot find a breakdown of how many of them were shot, how many were injured running, but that's almost 600 people were gunned down or as a result.
And many of those people for the rest of their lives are going to be disabled. Their lives have been forever, all of them, their lives have been forever altered. Not to mention the other probably thousands of people who are going to suffer from PTSD for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that's also interesting. Why isn't that talked about and played up in the media? How many other people? It seems like they decided to water down the coverage of this as usual. And it gripes me. And I'm going to also say one other thing. The ATF did regulate bump stocks originally, and they said they were illegal, and they were sued, and they backed down. So that's just a little thing that's you can find it on the web.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Richard,
but anyway, yes, sir.
No, I was just going to thank you. You want to make a final point before I move along? Apparently you made it.
That guy does not understand guns. The guy who said you didn't, he doesn't understand.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, I was not going to respond to his ad hominem attacks. When people start attacking you as a person in an argument, you know that they've already lost. And so I don't take it personally. It doesn't bother me at all. And I do know guns. I've been shooting guns since I was a kid. But
he judge the source. The guy's an ignoramus, and and he doesn't care about people being slaughtered, innocent people.
Well, we don't know what he actually cares about, Richard. And I don't want to get into ad hominem attacks against us, because that just makes us like him. But your point is well taken, Richard. Thank you very much for the call. Jim in Poway, California.
Yeah, Poway.
Hey, Jim. What's up?
Hats off to your common sense. It reminds me of the juxtaposition of your points, common, rational points, and the knee-jerk reaction of NRA people. And I have relatives that are hunters, and I enjoy the fruits of their hunt. But it just annoys me. It's like the old Shakespearean line, methinks thou dost protest too much. And I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Well said, Jim. Thank you very much. Colin in Kirkland, Washington. Hey, Colin.
Yes, hey, just wanted to comment on the whole bump stock controversy. And just real quick, full disclosure, I'm a gun owner myself, and I do believe that these bump stocks are not just stupid, but they should be illegal. Yep. And also, I'm not an attorney, though I'm aspiring to be an attorney. So I do believe there is valid cases to make a distinction between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. And what a lot of people don't realize about these bump stocks is that essentially the way an automatic, fully automatic firearm works is that it uses the recoil impulse of the firearm to operate the weapon as opposed to individual trigger pulls. Well, a bump stock effectively mimics the recoil mechanism to manipulate the trigger. Therefore, yes, even as a gun owner myself, I do believe that it effectively creates an automatic firearm.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In both cases, the mechanism that is driving the frequency of with which the shots are fired is the exhaust. It's the recoil. It's the the jerk back of the gun. And in this case, that jerk back, instead of being transmitted through from the barrel back down into a trigger mechanism in a fully automatic weapon, is being transmitted from the shoulder, from the stock, essentially into the trigger. Through you in a way. But yeah, I get it. Colin, well said. Thank you very much for that. Jude in Birmingham, Alabama. Hey, Jude, what's up?
Hey, Tom. I would just say that I would wonder if your guest had a problem with silencers, because silencers are illegal as far as I know, and
I think they're regulated.
The same thing as a bump stock. It's about how many shots you can get off before people become aware.
Yeah, I may be wrong, but I believe that you can actually get a license for a silencer, just like you can get a license for a fully automatic weapon. It's just very difficult, and you got to jump through a lot of hoops. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that to be the case.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, thanks a lot, Jude. John in Marne, Michigan. Hey, John.
Hi, Tom. I just had to call. This morning I sat down with the NRA letter they sent trying to solicit me with membership that I held once a while ago when I was younger. And, I filled out all my nasty points underneath the letter where they talk about the anti-gun lobby, and and I mentioned the points about the weapons of war that they want to continue to allow in schools. And so with your topic going today, I wanted to get that filled out and sent out. And when's it time for us progressives to not be any part of this organization? I think you mentioned at one time that you were.
Yeah, I still have my 2008 NRA membership card. That's the last year I was a member. I bailed.
Yeah.
And I first joined the NRA back in the mid to late 90s. I was writing a series of novels about a private detective. One of them's in print. It's called Death in the Pines. And, a private detective in Atlanta took me under his wing, a guy named DeWitt Wanamaker, and I went through the Georgia Police Academy, and, I played private detective with him so I could make the novels realistic. And I learned how to, and I took an NRA course in firearms. Now, but I'd been shooting for years before that. One of my brothers is a gun enthusiast, but he's not crazy like these guys are, and it's just like, this is just incredible. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
John, spot on. Yeah. I don't think, now that the NRA has basically become a political organization that supports the hard right and the white supremacists in this country, I have no use for them. John, thank you for the call and the spot on. It's coming up on 47 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back with more of your calls.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
47 minutes past the hour. Back in just a moment here on the Thom Hartmann Program, helping you win the water cooler wars. Sean just looked it up. 422 people were injured by gunfire in Las Vegas. And I assume that number does not include the 58 or 59 who were killed. Yeah. So there's your total. Lynn in Brighton, Colorado. Hey, Lynn, thanks for watching Free Speech TV. What's on your mind today?
My pleasure, and happy Hanukkah Kwanzaamas to you.
I love it.
Let's include them all.
There you go.
So the other night I was watching a show about genealogy, and the person's ancestor was a loyalist in the revolution, opposing the patriots. And somebody said they had militias because they had no standing army.
That's right.
That's what a well-regulated militia is, to take your little gun from your home, and everybody has one, and rise up and help the government. And
yeah, this is how Switzerland
anymore.
This is how Switzerland has done it for 400 years. And this is today the remnant of the well-regulated militias is called the National Guard.
Right. So why does everybody need thousands of guns? I mean, your statistics about Vegas, I'm just ill over, as is everyone.
One guy with one, maybe he had more than one gun. He certainly had more than one clip, or more than one magazine. One guy with a bump stock was able to maim over, 488, you said, Sean?
Oh, don't say it again.
I mean, it's just, but we need to know this. I mean, this is as an earlier caller pointed out, the press tends to sanitize these things by simply using the body count. I mean, look at the kids who went to Parkland. Look at the kids who went to school in Newtown. Every single kid in those schools is going to bear those scars for the rest of their life, and many of them are going to suffer from PTSD, and some of them, that PTSD is going to cause them to commit suicide. So eventually, many of them, that PTSD is going to ruin their ability to have trusting relationships and functional marriages, or to be decent parents. I mean, and that's the kids who weren't even in the room when the guns are being shot, but they were there.
Right.
And
I had PTSD too, and it's not post-traumatic. It's president's stress disorder.
You're great with words, Lynn. You are
Thanks,
great
honey.
with words.
I'm a writer.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lynn. Thanks for the call. It's great talking with you. Gary in Arlington Heights, Illinois. Hey, Gary, what's up?
Hey, my best friend was at the Vegas shooting.
Your best friend what?
My best friend was at the Vegas shooting.
Oh, my God. I hope he's okay.
Okay. As far as the bump stocks, okay, he admitted it's an accessory. The previous caller mentioned silencers. There's also a grenade launcher attachment for an M16 AR-15. Those are outlawed.
Right, it's accessories. Yeah,
okay.
This is. Go ahead.
The governing question has to be, what are the legitimate uses of firearms? Okay, target, hunting, and home defense.
Right.
If a product or a gun is not suited for one of those three things, okay, then what is its purpose?
Right. What the hell is it doing on our streets? And the fourth purpose, of course, is murdering a lot of people or killing a lot of people in time of war. But those weapons, in every other regard, you can't own a nuclear weapon. You can't own a tank. You can't have, claymore mines. You can't have hand grenades. I mean, all the other things that are designed to kill lots and lots of people really efficiently that we use as weapons of war are banned from our streets. Bump stocks should be. Frankly, AR-15s should be too. Gary, thank you for the call. We'll be right back. Welcome back. 51 minutes past the hour. I mentioned, we had this debate about bump stocks, and most of the calls on the board right now are about bump stocks, and I'm going to get to you all. But I also mentioned my concern that Donald Trump just cut a deal with Saudi Arabia to get Erdogan and Turkey to shut up about the murder of Khashoggi and Mohammed bin Salman's complicity in that, and that deal is he's going to give Turkey the Kurds in northern Syria. He's going to let the Turks come in, the Turkish military come in and slaughter the Kurds. That's my belief. And I noticed that Bryce is on the line here from Glendale, California. He wants to talk about Syria. Bryce, what are your thoughts on this?
Basically, what in the world's going on here? Because, you have Russia intervening in Syria, and basically everyone's been after the Kurds for years after their oil and gas. So basically just follow the money.
Yep. Yeah, Kurdistan used to actually, before World War I, there was a Kurdistan, and it encompassed southern Turkey, northern Syria, and northwestern Iraq. And those are the three places where you find Kurds, and they all used to be, one group, and they've got their own version of Islam. They've got their own ethnic identity. They have their own language. My mentor, Gottfried Mueller, who passed away about a decade ago, actually designed the flag for independent Kurdistan. He hung out down there, and during World War II. I'm very familiar with the situation, and the Iraqis hate the Kurds, the Syrians hate the Kurds, and the Turks hate the Kurds. And I think Kurdistan should be reassembled, and the Kurds should have their own country again. But that's a whole different thing. But I think that Donald Trump just sold out the Kurds, and the Kurds, by the way, are the ones who have been fighting against ISIS, because they are not Sunni Muslims, or at least the ISIS variety of Muslims. And this is crazy. He just stabbed our allies in the back, and I'm wondering what he's getting out of this. Is he getting that Erdogan is going to shut up about Mohammed bin Salman so that now Saudi Arabia can give more money to Jared Kushner? Is that what's going on? I don't know. Bruce, do you have thoughts on what the long game is here?
I think the long game is to make money, that just follow the money, basically. And I have one more question. What do you think the chances are of Trump being reelected in 2020?
I think they're pretty slim. But, I would, given the insane level of voter suppression out there, I'd never rule out anything.
Yeah.
Bryce, thanks a lot for the call. It's good talking with you. John in Los Angeles, listening on KPFK. Hey, John, what's up?
Hi, Tom. I used to be a long anti-gun person. I grew up in Los Angeles. There was incredible violence here with guns, and I used to be long against that. But then I found out that part of the reason there were so many guns is the police were actually supplying the guns. And if you go to Mexico or Chicago, they have a huge violence where they have outlawed the guns. And wherever you find these gun problems, you just got to look internally at your government as a corrupt government. When our
the problem in Chicago, John, respectfully.
Let me finish, please. When our government can stop invading nations and stop killing people, maybe then I would trust them to take our guns away.
I'm all in favor of stopping the foreign adventurism, but the reality is that right on the Indiana-Illinois border, right on the edge of Chicago, there's lots and lots of gun stores. Most of the guns that are found, that are caught in Chicago and taken away from people, or guns used in crimes, came from legal stores in Indiana, where they are then brought into Chicago. New York City has the same problem. When you've got bordering cities or bordering states where the sale of guns are legal and you've got guns illegal, you've got a problem. John, thanks for the call. Dave in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Hey, Dave, what's up? We have 1 minute, Dave, till the end of the hour.
The guy called about the guns not being designed for war.
Yeah.
The semi-automatic. I read an article on the family, and I don't know if this is the AK-47 or the AR, which one it is, but this guy did design it for the military, never kept one in his house. They said he would be rolling in his grave right now if he knew these were being sold to the average public.
Yeah.
They were never designed for that, and this is right from his kids.
Yeah, I agree. And my belief is, or my opinion is, that semi-automatic weapons should be as illegal as fully automatic weapons, which is to say they're not actually illegal. You can get a permit to own a fully automatic Uzi or Thompson. It costs $200. You just have to go to the ATF. You have to provide them with fingerprints. They have to do a full FBI background check. You have to demonstrate that there's a reason why you're going to have it, and they have to approve of that reason. I mean, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops. But if you have, if you run a gun range, you can have a Thompson. I've shot them in gun ranges.
Yeah, he was just saying that they were never designed for the military. Well, one of the two was, and this is right from his family. So
there you go. Dave, thanks a lot for the. Do you happen to know who the name of the guy is who designed them?
No, I can't remember. I read the article about 2 months ago, and I remember they're from Florida. That's all I know.
If you get it, would you tweet me?
Sure, we'll do it.
Great. I read my Twitter feed.
Bye.
Thanks a lot, Dave. I appreciate it. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
Free Speech TV is in their fund drive right now, their fundraising drive. And so it would be a great time for you to call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. And of course, you can go to the Free Speech TV website and donate there as well. Please be sure to mention the show. There are a lot of great goodies that Free Speech TV is offering right now as part of the funds drive. And in fact, there's quite a few. But the important thing is to call 877-378-8669. Here's some information on one of the things that you can get. With a $20 contribution, and $20 may not sound like a lot of money, but you know, to Free Speech TV, actually it is. This is an entire television network that runs on a little tiny budget. With a $20 contribution, you get a Free Speech TV sticker, 3x8 clear window with a logo of Free Speech TV. Please call now. 3 days to Christmas, including today. I mean, you know, until Friday and the end of the day. Friday is the beginning of, you know, for many of us, our Christmas holiday, right? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So here we are. We have 3 days, and you can make your Christmas gift or holiday gift, as the case may be, to Free Speech TV now and today only. Here on Wednesday, the 19th of December, today only, your gift will be doubled. A group of generous and anonymous donors have organized themselves to give $15,000 to Free Speech TV if we can hit that today, 15,000. And that's a big lift, but I think you can do it. If you have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV, if you have not yet stepped up to the plate, if you have not yet participated with Free Speech TV, here's a chance to have a huge impact with even the smallest gift. Even a $10 gift will have a substantial impact today because it'll be doubled. Your $10 gift becomes $20, your $100 gift becomes $200, your $400 gift becomes $800, your $1,000 gift becomes $2,000. Whatever you can afford to give, Free Speech TV needs your help. We need to keep this network running, and we need to keep, you know, the great programming on Free Speech TV on the air. There's really important stuff that we talk about here. You know, well, I'll talk about it on the air today, but, you know, the situation in Syria, you know, it looks to me like Trump is just throwing the Kurds to Turkey, to Erdogan, in exchange for Erdogan shutting up about Mohammed bin Salman, because Trump and his son-in-law need money from the Saudis and their friends, the Emiratis. Where are you going to hear that? I mean, this is like, they're just, and as I said, I'll be talking about that on the air today, but this is the ability, I can't tell you how valuable this is to me. I had a conversation years ago with the head of programming for one of the big television networks here in the United States, who was considering putting me on the air. And basically he said to me, there are certain areas you can't talk about on our network. And basically I said to him, then, you know, I have no interest in being on the network. Free Speech TV, when Free Speech TV first approached me about being on Free Speech TV, I said, I have always been independent. Even when I was with Air America, I had a contract that guaranteed my independence. When I was with RT, I had a contract that guaranteed my independence. I will not go on a network that doesn't say that I can say anything I damn well please. I mean, you can kick me off ultimately, but, you know, you can't tell me what to say and you can't censor me. And Free Speech was like, that's cool. And I was like, sign me up. So here we are. And you just don't find that. I'm telling you, you know, people who have not been in the media business don't realize what a big deal this is. This is huge. And, you know, I've watched friends of mine literally sell out to go on big networks, and it just breaks my heart. It's so important that Free Speech TV keep going. This network, this independent network, this nonprofit network, this network that is supported by you, and not by Boeing or ExxonMobil or Koch Industries. This is really important. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, you get the Free Speech TV window sticker. And by the way, that becomes $40 because everything's doubled today. With a $60 gift, you get the Tag You're It coffee mug. I have not gotten mine yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a ceramic mug, a nice, you know, a really high-quality mug. With the $72 gift, you get a copy of the new edition, the 2018 release of Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight by me. With the $120 gift, you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt and sticker. With the $240 gift, you can sign up for, or you can participate in this webinar that Louise and I are doing on personal growth, relationships, and NLP. With a $360, and again, these all get doubled. Your $360 gift becomes $720. With a $360 gift, you get 5 books. It's our 5-book special, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, which is, I've mentioned earlier, Unequal Protection, my book about the Supreme Court, the 14th Amendment, and how corporations took over America. The Thom Hartmann Reader, Rebooting the American Dream, my book of 11 policy prescriptions that Democrats should embrace today to win elections and to transform America back into what it was before Reaganism. And, of course, Greg Palast's The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. And with a $480 gift, you get everything I just mentioned, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, Unequal Protection, The Reader, Rebooting the American Dream, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, Free Speech TV T-shirt, the sticker, the Thom Hartmann Tag Your Coffee mug. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, hang out here in the studio, and you can watch the show happen. And I'll give you a guided tour, show you the equipment room in the back. It's like stepping into the Starship Enterprise. Well, it's not that fancy actually, but all the wires and stuff. And you can see how we do this show, and meet Nate and Sean and Shira, and have a great time. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Oh, and with the $1,000 gift, then after we have the show, we'll go over for lunch. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to the second hour of our program. Thom Hartmann here with you. In our first hour, we had Craig DeLuz on, the gun guy, arguing that the Trump administration, the Department of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms yesterday banned bump stocks. I don't think Donald Trump even knew about it. I doubt he had anything to do with it. But although the press release says he does, it's possible. But, I didn't think he read policy papers. But in any case, Craig was making the argument, basically the same argument that Brett Kavanaugh makes about the EPA. Brett Kavanaugh says that because the legislation that authorizes the EPA to, for example, regulate greenhouse gases, doesn't name all the greenhouse gases. Therefore, when the EPA, and by the way, Congress does this because they don't have the time or the means to bring in thousands of expert witnesses and get, thousands of hours or hundreds of witnesses get thousands of hours of testimony, and then have their own panel of experts who are employees of Congress come to a specific opinion and say, okay, here's how greenhouse gases should be regulated. You can't do that. That's insane. But Brett Kavanaugh, in a decision in the U.S. District Court for D.C., in the D.C. Circuit, argued that was the case. He lost. He was part of a 3-judge panel, and the other 2 judges said, you're crazy. But he basically said the EPA cannot say that carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas because the authorizing legislation doesn't have the words carbon dioxide in it. Instead, the authorizing regulation simply says, okay, EPA, you figure out what are dangerous greenhouse gases and you regulate them. That's your job. So Craig was applying that same logic to bump stocks, saying, the legislation that authorizes the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Bureau to regulate guns doesn't say bump stocks. Therefore, they're legal. Now, this is a silly BS argument, in my opinion, just like Brett Kavanaugh's argument that if regulations don't, if regulations are not written by Congress instead of regulatory agencies, they're not actual legal laws. It's very dangerous thinking, frankly, especially for a Supreme Court justice. And while it's entirely appropriate to wonder and ask whether Brett Kavanaugh is a sexual assaulter, I think it's also really important to look at his judicial philosophy, which Congress, by and large, failed to do. But in any case, that was the debate that we had in the first hour, and it's stirred up a lot of. In fact, there's still a lot of calls on the board who want to talk about it, and we'll pick those up in just a few minutes, and we'll continue the conversation. But the other 2 points that I made, what I see as the other really big news stories today, and I think these are really important, is one, the question. In fact, here this from one of the right-wing websites. I mean, Trump is taking fire from Republicans on this. RedState.com, our old friend Brian Pruitt, who comes on this program periodically to debate me on Republican policies. He didn't write this. It was written by somebody named Streif, but he writes for RedState.com. It's a conservative website. And the headline over at RedState.com, did Erdogan just roll President Trump in Syria? Let me explain this, and if you think that I'm wrong on this, or if you think I'm right for that matter, let me know. I think this is a big deal. I think this is the kind of big deal that could even take down the Trump presidency if my particular theory about this is right. The Kurds are a separate, and most Americans don't even know who the Kurds are. So just to give you the Kurds have been, they were an Arab tribe or a Kurdish tribe from thousands of years ago. They had their own country right up until World War I, if my recollection is correct. Maybe it was before the Ottoman Empire, but in any case, they had their own country. It was called Kurdistan. The Kurds speak their own language, Kurdish. They practice their own form of Islam. And I believe it's a variation on Shiism, but I could be wrong. But it is not a form of Islam that finds any friendliness with ISIS and Al Qaeda and these right-wing crazies in the Sunni religion who follow the teachings of Saudi Arabia's Wahhabists. So here you got the Kurds, and after World War I, the great powers got together and they divided up the Middle East. And we took the southwestern part of Kurdistan and gave it to Syria. We took the northern part of Kurdistan and gave it to Turkey. And we took the southeastern part of Kurdistan and gave it to Iraq. So what used to be a nice little country here was divided into 3 parts. So the southern part of Turkey, right on the Syrian border and on the Iraqi border, is filled with Kurds. The northeastern part of Syria, right on the Syrian and Iraqi borders, is filled with Kurds. And the northwestern part of Iraq, on the border of Syria and Turkey, is filled with Kurds. And these Kurds just want to be left alone and have their own country. Their fighters are legendary. I mean, just legendary. They are legendary warriors and fighters. And they've been allied to a large extent in Syria with the United States. And they formed an alliance with us in Iraq. So Erdogan in Turkey hates the Kurds in southern Turkey because they want independence and they don't want to recognize him, and they're not into his religion and they're not into his militarism and all that kind of stuff. He hates them. He's constantly trying to kill off the Kurds in southern Turkey. But he really can't do it because he's part of NATO and part of the European Union, and you just can't commit genocide when you're trying to pretend to be an advanced country. But he knows that he could kill but the Kurds in Syria help the Kurds in Turkey, right? I mean, they're all Kurds. And so Erdogan wants to wipe out the Kurdish people in northern Syria. Well, that's where we are. Our troops and the Kurds in northeastern Syria drove ISIS out of that part of Syria. To a large extent. There are still ISIS troops in Syria. Donald Trump is lying today when he said, and he said this in his own military, by the way. His own military is saying, don't do this. There's going to be a slaughter. Erdogan's going to come in and slaughter the Kurds. in Syria if you pull out. And they just fought with us, lost thousands of people. So why would Donald Trump do this? Well, this is where you get into the Thom Hartmann conspiracy theory. I can see a couple of possible reasons. The number one reason is that Donald Trump and Jared Kushner and his wife Ivanka are deeply in debt. We know that the Kushners are over $1 billion in debt. Trump is probably hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in debt. Trump wants to build Trump towers everywhere. I'm guessing he wants to build one in Turkey. We don't know that as well as we know that he definitely signed a deal to build one in Moscow, a whole nother scandal. But mostly Trump needs money from Saudi Arabia and from the United Arab Emirates. Jared Kushner has gone hat in hand to both those countries on multiple occasions, begging for money for his and his daddy's business and his buildings. And Donald Trump wants to do business with them. They have been cultivating Jared Kushner. They did this whole, who is the most vulnerable, as soon as Trump was elected, who's the most vulnerable person in the administration that we can flip? Saudi Arabia did. They came up with a PowerPoint presentation on how Jared Kushner was stupid about Middle Eastern politics. He knew about Israel. That was it. And we need to cultivate a friendship with him. And Mohammed bin Salman, who's about his age, reached out to him, and they've become best buds. And Jared has been the guy who is the point man for Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is really pissed off right now that Turkey, Erdogan, the president of Turkey, keeps yelling about how Saudi Arabia murdered Jamal Khashoggi in the Saudi embassy in Turkey. Saudi Arabia wants him to shut up. So my conspiracy theory is Saudi Arabia says to Donald Trump, hey, you want some money for your son-in-law's buildings? You want to build a Trump Tower in Turkey? You want some help from us? Give us that dissident cleric in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. Well, first they did that. That's what they hired Michael Flynn for. That's how Michael Flynn committed treason, according to the judge yesterday. By taking money from the Turkish government, even and continuing to do this even after he became national security advisor, being the agent of a foreign power, to try to get this. They had a plan to kidnap this guy. So that has been exposed. So Trump can't do that for Erdogan. He can't do that for Turkey anymore. So then Turkey comes to him and says, well, okay, if you can't give us the cleric, give us the friggin' Kurds. We want to slaughter them. Which is what Trump did this morning. I can't figure out any other reason that Trump would do this. The New York Times today, Helene Cooper, Eric Schmidt, and Mark Landler, they point out the Islamic State is not fully vanquished. But here's a couple of quotes from this. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis and other senior national security officials have tried to dissuade Mr. Trump from a wholesale troop withdrawal. Again, Mr. Erdogan this is the president of Turkey, has vowed to launch a new offensive against the Kurdish troops that the United States is equipped to fight the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. It looks to me like the New York Times agrees with my conspiracy theory. And then this from Raw Story, retired U.S. general to CNN, Trump's Syria withdrawal makes no sense and appears to be a transactional arrangement with Russia. Keep in mind, Bashar al-Assad is the president of Syria, and who is his buddy? Russia. So Russia wants the United States out of Syria, and Turkey wants the United States out of Syria. I don't think the Russians give a rat's ass about the Kurds. They're fine to, even let the Turks slaughter them. They just, they want to control the deep water ports. The Russians have, a navy operating out of Syria, and that's a, legitimate security interest on their part. But, selling out the Kurds, I think this has to do with Trump wanting some cash. I think this has to do with Trump wanting a Turkish Trump Tower. There's something that Trump is getting for this, because he would not go against all his generals, against the State Department, against everybody who has any common sense at all, against the international community. The only two countries that want the United States out of Syria right now are the three. Number one, Syria wants us out, right? Number two, Turkey wants us out so they can slaughter the Kurds, and Russia wants us out so that they can, have more influence, once again, basically have an alliance with Syria. Now, why would Trump pair up with Turkey, Russia, and Syria against the interests of the United States? He's got to be getting something out of this. We'll be back with your calls after this.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Oh, and I mentioned another big story. It's Facebook. We'll get into that maybe in the third hour of the program. But, feel free to call about it. We'll be right back. And welcome back. Doug, watching Free Speech TV in Caledonia, Michigan. Hey, Doug, what's on your mind?
Hi, Tom. Stop me if I'm beating a dead horse here, but in order to use a bump stock, you need to apply a rearward pressure with the trigger finger. You need to apply forward pressure with the gun, therefore kind of making it an automatic weapon with one trigger pull, many shots.
Right, if you hold your fingers stable, because what the bump stock, it's basically just a sleeve that fits over the stock of the gun that's got a giant spring in it. So, when the gun fires, instead of just kicking against your shoulder, it's kicking against a spring, which pushes it back out again, which pushes it against your finger. So your finger, instead of having to pull your finger and intentionally, pull your finger over and over again, you just hold it in place and the gun pulls against your finger.
Right. So about the only essence of an argument that your first guest had was that because the trigger is banging into your finger repeatedly, it's not an automatic weapon.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. It's basically the same as going into the weapon and filing down some parts and turning a semi-automatic into an automatic.
I agree.
Not to mention the fact that when you're holding forward on the stock, you're kind of ruining your aim. And if I'm not mistaken, most of firearms is aiming,
Yeah, unless you're firing at a crowd like the guy in Las Vegas did, and he shot 422 people and killed another 58 or 59.
Right. I'm no gun nut or anything, but I know that aiming, hitting what you're shooting at, hopefully game or something like that, is the essence of what you're supposed to be doing with a gun.
If you're using it for a legitimate purpose, if you're not using it to just spray a crowd with as many bullets as possible, as rapidly as possible. Spot on, Doug. Well said. Thank you very much for the call. Mike in Cooperville, Washington. Hey, Mike, what's up?
Yeah, it's Coopville.
Coopville, sorry.
Eugene Stoner designed the M16 weapon system.
Who did?
And originally designed as the AR-10 for 308 ammunition, the normal NATO stock round at that time. Actually, Robert McNamara was the one that introduced the 223 round into the gun because, for a couple different reasons, it's mathematics. You could hold more ammunition, it's lighter weight, but the most important thing is it turned the gun from a man killer into a wounding machine. The gun creates casualties. With the 223 round, the impact point on the target is completely. My point being that the point of the thing was to make mass casualties of a grand scale.
And this was for Vietnam, right?
And this was during the Vietnam conflict.
Yeah. So who was the guy who designed the AR-15?
Eugene Stoner.
Eugene Stoner.
Armalite.
Huh. And he explicitly designed it as a weapon of war.
Exactly. The point of it was that he was going to bring aerospace technology into building the handheld weapon system.
Right.
And so it used machined aluminum parts, aerospace type machinery, and with the idea of inserting a steel barrel in the system that made up for the fact that it didn't have a steel action.
Right. So it'd be more lightweight. The only really heavy part of it was the barrel and presumably the firing mechanisms and the trigger.
Yeah. What really turned into a different weapon was McNamara's insistence of using the 223 round over the 308.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. I did not know that. Mike, thanks a lot for the call. I've got the smartest listeners on earth, I'll tell you. Thank you, Mike. We'll be right back. Free Speech TV is in their fund drive right now, their fundraising drive. And so it would be a great time for you to call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. And, of course, you can go to the Free Speech TV website and donate there as well. Please be sure to mention the show. There are a lot of great goodies that Free Speech TV is offering right now as part of the funds drive. And in fact, there's quite a few. But the important thing is to call 877-378-8669. Here's some information on one of the things that you can get. With a $20 contribution, and $20 may not sound like a lot of money, but you know, to Free Speech TV, actually it is. This is an entire television network that runs on a little tiny budget. For the $20 contribution, you get a Free Speech TV sticker, 3x8 clear window with a logo of Free Speech TV. Please call now.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And boy, what an amazing day. Everything that's going on here. You know, Mike Flynn saying, yeah, I was working for Turkey. A lot of turkey in the news right now. A lot of turkey in the news right now. John in Springfield, Illinois, it says here that you want to disagree with me, so you go to the front of the line. What's up?
Yes, I just want to start off by saying I love your show. I've been watching it for years. But the concealed carry thing to me is where the gun debate just went off the rails. I see no reason for anybody to walk around in public with a loaded gun. And I know there's so many guns out there now that you can say, well, you might need it for self-defense because somebody might come up on you. But I think...
So you oppose the right to carry a concealed weapon?
I oppose the right to own one privately. That's how much I hate guns. I'd throw them all into the sun if I had my way.
Well, okay, then broadly we may not so much disagree, John. I think that it's legal. It should be legal to own a gun in the United States. I just think it should be difficult. I think that people should have to get, the gun should be registered just like a car is from the time it's manufactured till the time it's destroyed, and that registration should always be attached to a human person. I think that gun owners should have to prove, just like you have to prove you know how to drive a car, that they should have to prove competence at owning the gun, and they should have insurance, liability insurance, so that when somebody, so that if the Newtown kid, the situation with the Newtown kids, if they've been mowed down by a drunk driver, Geico would have paid their families millions of dollars. Instead, because they were mowed down by a crazy man with a gun, or a guy with a gun, Geico paid nothing, right? So that's my take on that, John. And concealed carry, I understand concealed carry. I think that there are times, you've got people who are, off-duty police officers. You've got people who are private detectives. You've got people who carry diamonds or money or whatever it may be as part of their work. I don't see that as something that should be completely outlawed. Again, it should just be heavily regulated. Dave in Federal Way, Washington. Hey, Dave, what's on your mind?
Hey, not too much, Tom. Hey, I just wanted to say that, look, I agree with everything you're saying about the Kushners and Trump, Turkey, Flynn. But it's not real clear. I mean, I know I've made some serious mistakes myself. I've come around to your way of thinking. I do believe this is mostly about money and basically foreign governments taking advantage of the Kushner and Trump's incompetence.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say real quick that the Roman Abramovich, he's Israeli and Russian. This is a dangerous guy, and he's got connections to Kushner, and he's supposedly going to be questioned for the Skripal, the assassination attempt on the Skripal. He supposedly facilitated that.
Very interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of shoes to still drop, Dave. Dave, thanks a lot for the call. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Taking back the mainstream media 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Thom Hartmann here with you. We'll be right back. Three days to Christmas, including today. I mean, until Friday and the end of the day. Friday is the beginning of, for many of us, our Christmas holiday, right? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So here we are. We have 3 days, and you can make your Christmas gift or holiday gift, as the case may be, to Free Speech TV now and today only. Here on Wednesday, the 19th of December, today only, your gift will be doubled. A group of generous and anonymous donors have organized themselves to give $15,000 to Free Speech TV if we can hit that today, 15,000. And that's a big lift, but I think you can do it. If you have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV, if you have not yet stepped up to the plate, if you have not yet participated with Free Speech TV, here's a chance to have a huge impact with even the smallest gift. Even a $10 gift will have a substantial impact today because it'll be doubled. Your $10 gift becomes $20, your $100 gift becomes $200, your $400 gift becomes $800, your $1,000 gift becomes $2,000. Whatever you can afford to give, Free Speech TV needs your help. We need to keep this network running, and we need to keep, you know, the great programming on Free Speech TV on the air. There's really important stuff that we talk about here. You know, well, I'll talk about it on the air today, but, you know, the situation in Syria, you know, it looks to me like Trump is just throwing the Kurds to Turkey, to Erdogan, in exchange for Erdogan shutting up about Mohammed bin Salman, because Trump and his son-in-law need money from the Saudis and their friends, the Emiratis. Where are you going to hear that? I mean, this is like, they're just, and as I said, I'll be talking about that on the air today, but this is the ability. I can't tell you how valuable this is to me. I had a conversation years ago with the head of programming for one of the big television networks here in the United States, who was considering putting me on the air. And basically he said to me, there are certain areas you can't talk about on our network. And basically I said to him, then, you know, I have no interest in being on the network. Free Speech TV, when Free Speech TV first approached me about being on Free Speech TV, I said, I have always been independent. Even when I was with Air America, I had a contract that guaranteed my independence. When I was with RT, I had a contract that guaranteed my independence. I will not go on a network that doesn't say that I can say anything I damn well please. I mean, you can kick me off ultimately, but, you know, you can't tell me what to say and you can't censor me. And Free Speech was like, that's cool. And I was like, sign me up. So here we are. And you just don't find that. I'm telling you, you know, people who have not been in the media business don't realize what a big deal this is. This is huge. And, you know, I've watched friends of mine literally sell out to go on big networks, and it just breaks my heart. It's so important that Free Speech TV keep going. This network, this independent network, this nonprofit network, this network that is supported by you, and not by Boeing or ExxonMobil or Koch Industries. This is really important. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, you get the Free Speech TV window sticker. And by the way, that becomes $40 because everything's doubled today. With a $60 gift, you get the Tag You're It coffee mug. I have not gotten mine yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a ceramic mug, a nice, you know, a really high-quality mug. With the $72 gift, you get a copy of the new edition, the 2018 release of Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight by me. With the $120 gift, you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt and sticker. With the $240 gift, you can sign up for, or you can participate in this webinar that Louise and I are doing on personal growth, relationships, and NLP. With a $360, and again, these all get doubled. Your $360 gift becomes $720. With a $360 gift, you get 5 books. It's our 5-book special, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, which is, you know, I've mentioned earlier, Unequal Protection, my book about the Supreme Court, the 14th Amendment, and how corporations took over America. The Thom Hartmann Reader, Rebooting the American Dream, my book of 11 policy prescriptions that Democrats should embrace today to win elections and to transform America back into what it was before Reaganism. And, of course, Greg Palast's The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. And with a $480 gift, you get everything I just mentioned, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, Unequal Protection, The Reader, Rebooting the American Dream, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, Free Speech TV T-shirt, the sticker, the Thom Hartmann Tag You're It coffee mug. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, hang out here in the studio, and you can watch the show happen. And I'll give you a guided tour, show you the equipment room in the back. It's like stepping into the Starship Enterprise. Well, it's not that fancy, actually, but all the wires and stuff. And you can see, how we do this show and meet Nate and Sean and Shira and, have a great time. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Oh, and with the $1,000 gift, then after we have the show, we'll go over for lunch. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And boy, a lot in the news, and this whole situation in Syria is very troubling. Lindsey Graham, by the way, is saying, "Hey, Trump, you're wrong," and several Republicans have now come out and said Trump is absolutely wrong. They're not going as far as I am and asking why is he doing this. Teresa in Pahoa, Hawaii. Am I saying that right, Teresa?
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
What's up?
Yeah. Well, after listening to you about you describing about this whole, Erdogan and MSB and Trump, and then him doing it this morning in the news that you found out, I immediately called up, my senators, Senator Hirano office and Senator Schott's office to know if they knew about it, and if they did, what are they going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what else to do. I mean, it's just so crazy. It seems like there's undercurrent things going on with Trump, but then the national media is not saying anything about it so far.
Yeah, I think it was David Leonhardt a couple days ago wrote an op-ed in the New York Times. It might have been somebody else, but I'm pretty sure it was him. Basically saying that if you look at the 2 years of the Trump presidency, literally every decision he has made has been transactional. That is, it has not been grounded in principle. It hasn't been, this is what the United States stands for, therefore we're doing this. Instead, it's been, what do we get out of this? That's why we're going to do it. And so the question that I have to ask is, what do we get out of abandoning the Kurds in northern Syria? I'm no fan of the United States being anywhere. I was opposed to the United States going into Syria to begin with, but we went into Syria, we armed the Kurds, we promised them our support. They fought against ISIS. They lost thousands of their own people to ISIS. They pushed ISIS out of the region, and now Trump is saying, okay, we're going to turn these Kurds over to the Turks, and the Turks are going to slaughter them. And if the Turks don't slaughter them, then Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, will slaughter them.
Terrible. It's just terrible.
It really
all
is.
Around. Just terrible.
It really is. Yep. Teresa, thank you for the call. I don't know what else to do other than.
Show, and thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Tell everybody you know. That's the bottom line. Michael, talk about it on. If you're unless you're pulling the plug on Facebook. Michael in Snohomish, Washington. Hey, Michael, what's up?
Hi. I just wanted you to remember that there's also Kurds in northern Iran.
You're right. And the Iranians don't like them either.
Yeah, so you have to think about that when you think about Iran helping out Syria or helping out Turkey or helping out Iraq.
Yeah.
It's so they can get at the Kurds and wipe them off the map.
Yep. Everybody hates the Kurds because the Kurds want to say, "Hey, we're an independent people. We should have our own country." I'm sure the analogy is imperfect, but sort of like before Israel, the Jews scattered around Europe, and then Hitler comes along and says, okay, we're going to take out the Jews in Poland, we're going to take out the Jews in Germany, we're going to take out the Jews in Austria. I mean, this is what these countries, certainly Iran and Syria and Turkey, and frankly, under Saddam Hussein, Iraq wanted to do with the Kurds. And we really need to figure this thing out. Thanks a lot, Michael. John in San Francisco, listening on 910 Real Talk. Hey, John, what's up? Or Real Talk 910.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, Kurdistan, traditionally for the last 50 or so years, since World War II, the CIA employed them as our listening posts against the Soviet Union back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
You're right. And when the Soviets had invaded Afghanistan, we were using the Kurds in they weren't in Afghanistan. I think they were in Syria. I don't have a map of the region in front of me, but we were using Kurds on that too.
My understanding was that it was in northern Iran and Iraq was where the listening posts were.
That makes sense.
They were kind of under an agreement, much like the Laotians in South Asia, that they would be, given future consideration to, establish a country and such. And Richard Allen, the old CIA director, was, really old school about it and was pointing in that direction before Iran went crazy and took all the hostages and so on. But they were our former they have been our ally for half a century, and in the fights, our struggles with the Iraqis and the Iranians.
Yeah, I mentioned my spiritual mentor, Gottfried Mueller. I wrote a book about him called The Prophet's Way. In the late 1920s, he bicycled from Germany down to Kurdistan, and during World War II, he was enlisted into or drafted into the German army. And because he had been in that region, he spoke Kurdish, he spoke Arabic, he spoke French, he spoke German, English. He spoke 7 languages fluently. They parachuted him into Kurdistan to try to get the Kurds to take their oil and give it to Hitler. And he was immediately arrested, and by both the Iranians, because it was that part of Iran that part of Kurdistan that was Iran, by both the Iranians and by the there was another force in the region. By the British, who occupied the area at the time. And the Iranians sentenced him to death by hanging. The British sentenced him to death by firing squad. And he sat in a jail cell throughout the rest of World War II. He said to me, thank God I never killed anybody. I never really did anything in the war because I was in jail through the whole thing. But every day the jailers would come by and say, "Okay, Mueller, today it's going to be you're going to be hung." And that's when he became a vegetarian, as a statement of nonviolence. And but he actually went back to that region in the 1950s, and he designed, and I'm forgetting the name of the guy, but his grandson is now the leader of the Kurdish independence movement. Gottfried Mueller designed the flag of the Kurdish independence movement to this day. I mean, he designed that back in the 1950s. So, I've been hearing about Kurdistan since the late 70s when I first met Gottfried Mueller.
You mean that white flag with the yellow sun on it?
I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and I saw it back in the late 70s, early 80s when Herr Mueller told me this whole story, but I don't frankly remember which of the flags it is. But he designed the flag that at that time in the 70s and 80s that they were using. So I don't know if it's still the
getting
case.
Back to his bicycle trip, he bicycled in the 40s down to Iraq?
No, it was in the late 20s, early 30s.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like in his 20s at the time. I mean, he just died, about I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, at the age of 92, as I recall. So it's an amazing story, and Kurdistan is an amazing place. And he just told me all these wild stories about, not wild stories, these are really actually very moving stories about the culture, about how people got to know each other, about it was one of his first exposures to what we would refer to as a hospitality culture, what was referred to as a potlatch culture in North America, where you've got a society where one of the ways that you gain status in the society is by giving to other people, and by being a host. And the stranger is always welcome, and all this kind of. And it just blew his mind because growing up German, that's very much not the German culture. And it's just an amazing thing. Kurdistan's an amazing place. John, I got to move along, but thank you for the call and thanks for listening to Real Talk 910. It's great to hear from you, Kevin in Olympia, Washington. Hey, Kevin, what's on your mind today?
Hey, first of all, I'd like to say I wish I could think on my feet as quickly as you do.
Well, I can thank my parents for that, I guess, Kevin. Thank you.
Pardon me?
I think I can thank my parents for that. I used to debate politics with my dad all the time. I mean, that was our favorite sport when I was growing up.
My dad and I only talked about baseball.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
I wanted to make that's a great sport. A couple things to say. One, I was just sort of like a critique, but when you get people like the guy with the bump stock on the phone, and I was thinking that ask him if he takes the Second Amendment as literally as he does the law, and join a militia.
Right.
They seem to go back and forth between sometimes they're a little loosey-goosey about things and other times they're literal.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to get into that because it would have just moved the conversation off the bump stocks. I wanted to stay on that, but those are always good questions to ask, Kevin.
And along these lines, I'm just going to try to be as quick as I can and let other people on. But along with the bump stocks, I was Time Magazine. I was disappointed that they did not make the American students honor them with that. Given all of the tragedies that we've had in recent years.
Yeah, I think Parkland has sort of receded in our memory, and the Khashoggi murder, and now, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but Reporters Without Borders, I believe it's Reporters Without Borders, they issue an annual report of the most dangerous nations to be a reporter in. And after that slaughter in Wisconsin of 4 reporters, in addition to reporters who have been murdered, other reporters who have been murdered in the United States and other reporters who have been, imprisoned, the United States is now on the list of countries where it's dangerous to be a reporter.
I did hear something along that lines. I wasn't sure of the source. And the last thing I wanted to just say or just ask as a question, when you're talking about the Middle East and the book Lawrence in Arabia, I read a few years ago, so it's the word in instead of of.
Right.
It goes back to how that was all divided up over oil.
Right. Is that the contemporary book, or the one that was, or was that published back in the 40s or 50s?
No, this is recent. I read it about 3 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I remember a book like that coming out, but I never read it.
I thought it was excellent to understand what was going on there. It's pretty detailed, and it is about Lawrence of Arabia too.
Right, Lawrence.
So, just a suggestion. Sometimes
I'll check it out, Kevin. Thank you, Lawrence in Arabia. I appreciate that. Thank you for the call. And thanks for your kind words. We'll be back. We're going to check in about 4 minutes here with Talk Media News and find out what else is going on in the world today, and then we'll get back to the conversation a little later on in our next hour. Senator Jeff Merkley's going to drop by.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
We'll be right back. By the way, the Attorney General for the District of Columbia has sued Facebook for not protecting our data. Interesting. And welcome back. Heather, watching us on Facebook in Salem, Mass. Hey, Heather, what's up?
Hi, Tom. Thanks so much for what you do.
My pleasure.
I just wanted to mention that I think it's becoming very clear to people that bump stocks are obviously not a good idea. But the most important thing to get to be successful in stopping gun violence and gun deaths is anyone that has a history of, losing custody of their kids or abuse of women or family members. I think that's becoming like a major issue. And no one wants to take guns away from everyone, but I think we can all agree that, there's people that definitely are the ones that are the most likely to commit gun homicides.
I believe, I could be wrong on this, but I'm quite sure I've read this from multiple sources, that the leading predictor of somebody becoming a mass murderer is that they have abused women in their past, violently abused women in their past.
Exactly. And I don't know how that can translate into how we can protect people in the future from these people, or, taking away guns is like,
well, if you license gun owners, like I suggested, that we deal with guns like they're cars, and you license gun owners, you can, if somebody has a certain number of DUIs, they can't have a driver's license.
Absolutely.
And if somebody has ever abused a woman, or frankly anybody, if anybody has a history of violent behavior, I don't think that they should have access to a weapon. Period.
I agree.
And full stop. Okay, Heather, thank you. It's great to find agreement. I appreciate the call. Adam in New Orleans, Louisiana. Hey, Adam, what's up?
Hi, Tom. I'm coming at this gun control issue from a different direction. Fear is being used to generate political support and contributions. Second Amendment single-issue people see any regulations as a slippery slope issue. We need to diffuse that framing. As someone who enjoys shooting and participation in a number of related forums, I've had serious arguments with single-issue Second Amendment advocates who see this right as literally the most critical to protecting freedom. Until we address this framing, and the framing of the word freedom it will be used by the GOP and select Democrats to generate donations. My tack has been to focus instead on how donations to these candidates result in policies and legislation that attack free speech, freedom of the press, privacy. These arguments seem to register with these people so that they begin to reconceive the idea of the word freedom, because it's really been weaponized.
Yeah, I totally agree, and not just freedom, by the way. Liberty is the other word that they're very fond of, and the Jerry Falwell appropriated for his university and everything else, and in the book that I have coming out in June of next year, the Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, I open the book with the story of going to a gun range, a shooting range in Mason, Michigan, back the Christmas that Barack Obama was elected. That would have been Christmas of 2008, with my two of my brothers and a couple of my nephews and one of my nieces to rent some guns and shoot on the range. And they were out of bullets. I mean, they were really low. You could only buy one box of bullets. And I was like, why? And the guy starts raving about Obama and using the N-word and yelling. I mean, that guy is going to take away, that blank word is going to take away our guns. And I was like, how do you know this? And he pulls out his cell phone and he shows me an email from somebody. I don't think it was from the NRA, but it was, that says, Obama's secret plan to take away your, and spot on, Adam. I mean, they've been selling this for a long time.
That's the scary side of it.
Yep. Amen. Free Speech TV is in their fund drive right now, their fundraising drive. And so it would be a great time for you to call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. And of course, you can go to the Free Speech TV website and donate there as well. Please be sure to mention the show. There are a lot of great goodies that Free Speech TV is offering right now as part of the funds drive. And in fact, there's quite a few. But the important thing is to call 877-378-8669. Here's some information on one of the things that you can get. With a $20 contribution, and $20 may not sound like a lot of money, but to Free Speech TV, actually it is. This is an entire television network that runs on a little tiny budget. With a $20 contribution, you get a Free Speech TV sticker, 3x8 clear window with a logo of Free Speech TV. Please call now. Can't Talk Media News. Find out what's going on in the world today. This report brought to you by goatsfortheoldgoat.com. It's the giving season for sure. This is Ellen Ratner's charity for South Sudan, and where I've been with her, and it's an amazing thing that she's doing. And Loving What You Do, her new book. And on the line with us is the old goat herself, Ellen Ratner, and I say that lovingly.
I am the old goat, and also it's not too late to get a heart, a crystal heart, and those we bring over the crystals to South Sudan. The women who are in our post-trauma stress project make them, and then we bring them back. So you can get a goat, you can get a heart. The goats do not come to your house, believe it or not. We get calls saying, I don't want to go to my house. No, the goats are in South Sudan.
Right, and they're used for milk. They're not
That's right.
they're not slaughtered.
Give out lady goats.
Right. And I mean, this is I get it. So Ellen, what's going on in the news today?
Okay, well, I was just on a call with the American Federation of Government Employees with Senator Cardin and Elijah Cummings, a Republican, Representative Elijah Cummings. He's definitely not a Republican. And basically what they're saying is that in the government shutdown money that is supposedly going to be approved of by the Senate, they have a 1.9% cost of living increase. But so far, that has not gone through in any way, shape, or form. And he said people live from paycheck to paycheck, and they need the cost of living increase.
Wow. And so this is the Republican-authored bill, presumably.
This is the Republican-authored bill. Yes, they're touting there's not going to be a government shutdown, but how about the pay increase for the 700 to 800,000 government employees?
Wow. Ellen, let me run a conspiracy theory by you, and I'd love to get your take on it because you are so knowledgeable about international issues. Donald Trump, as we know, doesn't do anything unless there's something in it for him. He and his son-in-law are desperately asking for money from Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates for Jared Kushner's 666 building in Manhattan, and Donald Trump wants to build Trump Towers, throughout the Middle East. He's already built one. And so it seems to me that Donald Trump very much wants to help out Mohammed bin Salman, the dictator of Saudi Arabia.
For sure.
Right now, MBS's biggest problem is the fact that the president of Turkey, Mr. Erdogan, keeps pointing out that MBS murdered Khashoggi, and he wants him to shut up about it. So first, Trump tries to give Erdogan a gift to make him shut up.
He's trying to sell him some missiles.
Well, yeah, they sold him $3 billion worth of missiles this morning, but also he tried to give him that shake in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. That got out. I mean, that was the whole Michael Flynn thing, right? That got out, and so he can't do that. So now the other thing that we know that Erdogan really wants, and that might make him shut up about Saudi Arabia, is he wants to slaughter the Kurds in Syria. And it's the Kurdish region in Syria where the U.S. troops are. And we armed those troops.
Now we're taking out 2,000 troops in Syria, which is craziness. And all these right-wing sites, I've been getting emails all morning, oh, how wonderful it is that we're taking people out of Syria. Excuse me, 700 people were killed by ISIS over the weekend.
Yeah. So, A, Trump is lying about ISIS has been defeated. But B, it seems to me that what he's doing is he's saying to Erdogan, I'll take our troops out of Syria so you can invade northern Syria, which the New York Times is predicting today, and slaughter those Kurds. In exchange for that, you shut up about Mohammed bin Salman and Saudi Arabia, and the Saudis will start giving me and Jared Kushner some money. What do you think?
Well, absolutely. And, I'm on the board of Reporters Without Borders, and I have to tell you, Turkey is no good to journalists any more than in some respects Saudi Arabia is. Now, we don't necessarily kill journalists in Turkey, but we certainly jail them.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Ellen. What else is going on in the world today?
Oh, my gosh. Well, now there is this Trump letter, speaking of Trump, on Moscow. And basically what happened is there was a letter that Trump said, oh, it was a fake letter, but CNN actually has the letter signed by Donald Trump, and his signature is hard to make up. And the letter basically has everything about the Trump Tower, including the fact that they were going to make a spa named after Ivanka Trump.
In Moscow.
In Moscow.
And he signed the letter of intent while he was campaigning to become president of the United States. Do I have that right?
Now, that may be illegal. Now, once you are president, it's not necessarily illegal to do things. But if you're running for president, you're not yet covered under the immunity.
Wow. Amazing.
Now, Facebook also gave 150 companies access to their personal data, if you can believe that.
Yes.
150 companies. And that means that it was just wholesale. It was much more than Cambridge Analytica.
And it's still going on right now.
Well, yes. I mean, they deny it, but of course it's going on. We know it's going on, right?
Yeah. This is incredible.
Senator Murray of Washington State has a report on workplace harassment. That just came out today. She let that out. As we just talked about, they are selling missiles in Turkey. To Turkey. The United States is selling Patriot missiles to Turkey, if you could believe it.
Yep.
Why would we do that?
Well, because A, it's $3 billion for the defense contractors who contribute heavily to Republican campaigns. Yep, $3.5 billion. And B, we want to make Erdogan as happy as possible so he'll shut up about Saudi Arabia and Mohammed bin Salman being a craven murderer.
Well, it's just crazy. Also, the president this morning tweeted about winning with the wall. He said basically, even if it doesn't come as part of the government shutdown or continuation, a CR as it's called in Washington, then there is going to be a winner with a wall. Give me a break.
Yeah, no, he's just tweeting to his followers to say, I didn't lie to you. It's a scam, Ellen. The guy's a grifter. Ellen Ratner with Talk Media News. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
And happy holidays, Ellen.
Thank you so much.
We'll be back in just a few minutes.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
Free Speech TV is in their fund drive right now, their fundraising drive. And so it would be a great time for you to call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. And of course, you can go to the Free Speech TV website and donate there as well. Please be sure to mention the show. There are a lot of great goodies that Free Speech TV is offering right now as part of the funds drive. And in fact, there's quite a few. But the important thing is to call 877-378-8669. Here's some information on one of the things that you can get. With a $20 contribution, and $20 may not sound like a lot of money, but you know, to Free Speech TV, actually it is. This is an entire television network that runs on a little tiny budget. With a $20 contribution, you get a Free Speech TV sticker, 3x8 clear window with a logo of Free Speech TV. Please call now. 3 days to Christmas, including today. I mean, you know, until Friday and the end of the day. Friday is the beginning of, you know, for many of us, our Christmas holiday, right? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So here we are. We have 3 days, and you can make your Christmas gift or holiday gift, as the case may be, to Free Speech TV now and today only. Here on Wednesday, the 19th of December, today only, your gift will be doubled. A group of generous and anonymous donors have organized themselves to give $15,000 to Free Speech TV if we can hit that today, 15,000. And that's a big lift, but I think you can do it. If you have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV, if you have not yet stepped up to the plate, if you have not yet participated with Free Speech TV, here's a chance to have a huge impact with even the smallest gift. Even a $10 gift will have a substantial impact today because it'll be doubled. Your $10 gift becomes $20, your $100 gift becomes $200, your $400 gift becomes $800, your $1,000 gift becomes $2,000. Whatever you can afford to give, Free Speech TV needs your help. We need to keep this network running, and we need to keep, you know, the great programming on Free Speech TV on the air. There's really important stuff that we talk about here. You know, well, I'll talk about it on the air today, but, you know, the situation in Syria, you know, it looks to me like Trump is just throwing the Kurds to Turkey, to Erdogan, in exchange for Erdogan shutting up about Mohammed bin Salman, because Trump and his son-in-law need money from the Saudis and their friends, the Emiratis. Where are you going to hear that? I mean, this is like, they're just, and as I said, I'll be talking about that on the air today, but this is the ability, I can't tell you how valuable this is to me. I had a conversation years ago with the head of programming for one of the big television networks here in the United States, who was considering putting me on the air. And basically he said to me, there are certain areas you can't talk about on our network. And basically I said to him, then, you know, I have no interest in being on the network. Free Speech TV, when Free Speech TV first approached me about being on Free Speech TV, I said, I have always been independent. Even when I was with Air America, I had a contract that guaranteed my independence. When I was with RT, I had a contract that guaranteed my independence. I will not go on a network that doesn't say that I can say anything I damn well please. I mean, you can kick me off ultimately, but, you know, you can't tell me what to say and you can't censor me. And Free Speech was like, that's cool. And I was like, sign me up. So here we are. And you just don't find that. I'm telling you, you know, people who have not been in the media business don't realize what a big deal this is. This is huge. And, you know, I've watched friends of mine literally sell out to go on big networks, and it just breaks my heart. It's so important that Free Speech TV keep going. This network, this independent network, this nonprofit network, this network that is supported by you, and not by Boeing or ExxonMobil or Koch Industries. This is really important. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, you get the Free Speech TV window sticker. And by the way, that becomes $40 because everything's doubled today. With a $60 gift, you get the Tag You're It coffee mug. I have not gotten mine yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a ceramic mug, a nice, a really high-quality mug. With the $72 gift, you get a copy of the new edition, the 2018 release of Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight by me. With the $120 gift, you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt and sticker. With the $240 gift, you can sign up for, or you can participate in this webinar that Louise and I are doing on personal growth, relationships, and NLP. With a $360 gift, and again, these all get doubled. Your $360 gift becomes $720. With a $360 gift, you get 5 books. It's our 5-book special, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, which is, I've mentioned earlier, Unequal Protection, my book about the Supreme Court, the 14th Amendment, and how corporations took over America. The Thom Hartmann Reader, Rebooting the American Dream, my book of 11 policy prescriptions that Democrats should embrace today to win elections and to transform America back into what it was before Reaganism. And, of course, Greg Palast's The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. And with a $480 gift, you get everything I just mentioned, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, Unequal Protection, The Reader, Rebooting the American Dream, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, Free Speech TV T-shirt, the sticker, the Thom Hartmann Tag Your Coffee mug. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, hang out here in the studio, and you can watch the show happen. And I'll give you a guided tour, show you the equipment room in the back. It's like stepping into the Starship Enterprise. Well, it's not that fancy actually, but all the wires and stuff. And you can see how we do this show, and meet Nate and Sean and Shira, and have a great time. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Oh, and with the $1,000 gift, then after we have the show, we'll go over for lunch. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to the third hour of our program. There's so much in the news. You've heard me ranting about, it's a good thing we banned bump stocks from our first hour. B, my theory that Donald Trump is pulling or wants to pull. We'll see if the military goes along with him, although he is the commander in chief. I mean, what he says kind of goes. Maybe they can talk him out of it. We'll see. But Donald Trump pulling U.S. forces out of Syria, where we trained and armed the Kurds, and they did the majority of the fighting. It wasn't U.S. soldiers who killed off ISIS and drove them to a large extent out of Syria, although, as Ellen Ratner points out, just over last weekend, I think she said 700 people were slaughtered by ISIS in that region of Syria. So, A, Trump is lying, but which is like, well, of course, the sun comes up, right? But B, that in my opinion, he is telling this lie, and he is taking this action specifically to give Erdogan in Turkey, the president of Turkey, who hates the Kurds, hates his own Kurds, wants to slaughter them, is continually harassing them, has terrible policies against them. He wants to go in and slaughter the Kurds in Syria, which is right on Turkey's southern border. The Kurdish region is right there, and that's where we are. And those are the Kurds that we armed to fight ISIS, and they largely drove ISIS out of that particular region in Syria. And although ISIS is in many other parts of Syria, but that particular part of Syria is fairly clear of ISIS. But once the U.S. troops pull out, nothing is protecting those Kurds from the Turks. So, and I think that Trump is doing this because he wants Erdogan to shut up and stop yelling about Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, and his complicity in the torture, murder, and dismemberment of Jamal Khashoggi. So we got that. Meanwhile, Judge Emmett Sullivan, he's the guy who was all over the news last night because yesterday he said to Michael Flynn, you sir, sold out your country, was the exact phrase. In fact, he asked the prosecutor, he said, did you think about prosecuting this guy for treason? Because Flynn, when he went to work for the Trump administration, and by the way, Mike Pence was warned about this. Mike Pence was in charge of the transition and helped bring Flynn into the administration. Mike Pence explicitly was warned. Mike Flynn has been compromised by both the Russians and the Turks. And he's actually taking money from the Turks. So do not put him into a national security position. And sure enough, Mike Flynn did that. And so anyhow, that judge, Emmett Sullivan, who postponed for 90 days Flynn's sentencing and said, I'm not all that inclined to give him no jail time, which is what both the prosecutors and the defense wanted. That judge issued another ruling today that is huge. That's just absolutely screaming huge. And what he ruled was that when Jeff Sessions said that if you show up on the border of the United States or show up at any embassy anywhere in the world or any other part of the U.S. border, Canada as well, but typically it's happening in the southern border. If you show up on the southern border and say you are fleeing domestic violence or gang violence, you are fleeing Guatemala or Honduras because the gangs have come and they've murdered your kid and they're going to murder your other kids, or your husband is nuts and he's going to kill you. If you're fleeing domestic or gang violence, up until last year, you could come to the United States and use that as the basis for an asylum claim. Jeff Sessions said, no, we're not going to protect people who are being slaughtered by gangs or by crazed relatives any longer. That's no longer the basis for an asylum claim. But Judge Emmett Sullivan says not only is that wrong, not only was Jeff Sessions full of it, but you have to reach out to all those people who actually got into the United States and said the gangs are going to kill me. And we talked about this last week. There was this one fellow who got deported back to Honduras. He said, you send me back, I'm going to be murdered. And sure enough, as soon as he got there, they killed him. So what Judge Sullivan said today was you have to actually reach out to those countries, to those people that you deported, and offer them a flight back into the United States so they can begin the process of applying for asylum. That's huge. I suspect this is getting nothing close to the kind of coverage it should get. This is a major, major story. And, I don't know if Judge Sullivan, I believe he issued a specific order. That, in fact, I'm quite sure that he issued the specific order that the Trump administration has to do this. Now, no doubt they will appeal it. But, hey, the cracks are forming in the wall. Meanwhile, this from Gizmodo, the tech website. Alexandra Korolova has turned off Facebook's access to her location in every way that she can. She turned off the location history in the Facebook app. She told her iPhone that she never wants the app to get her location. She doesn't check into places and doesn't list her current city in her profile. Despite all this, she constantly sees location-based ads on Facebook. She sees ads targeted at, quote, people who live near Santa Monica, which is where she lives. Or at people who live near Los Angeles, where she works as an assistant professor at the University of Southern California. When she traveled to Glacier National Park, which is in Montana, she saw an ad for activities in Montana. When she went on a work trip to Cambridge, Mass., she saw ads for a ceramics school in Massachusetts. Facebook is continuing to track her location to feed her ads, despite her saying in every way possible she did not want Facebook to do this. And this is particularly perturbing for her, as she recounts on Medium magazine or Medium Facebook, because she has studied how the privacy harm that comes from Facebook advertising, including how it can be it could be previously used to gather data about an individual's likes, income, estimated income, and interests, and how it can currently be used to target ads at a single house or building. If, say, for example, an anti-abortion group wants to target women at a Planned Parenthood with an ad for baby clothes. Now, how is Facebook doing this? Her theory, and she's very knowledgeable about these things, is that Facebook looks at your IP address. When you log onto the internet service provider, the company that you pay for your internet access, assigns an IP address to you. It's like a street address. In fact, it's actually tied to your street address. If you know somebody's IP address, you literally know where they live or where they work or where they're accessing the internet. All you have to know is the IP address. And Facebook, being an active app on your phone or on your computer, can easily look at your IP address. And so, boom, they instantly know where you are, and they record that information, and apparently they're sharing and selling that information. A lot of people are very, very upset about this. Facebook allowed Bing's, this is from the New York Times today, Facebook allowed Microsoft's Bing search engine to see the names of virtually all Facebook users' friends without consent, the records show, and gave Netflix and Spotify the ability to read Facebook users' private messages. They're sharing your private information, they're sharing your contacts, and they're sharing your private messages, or historically have, with over 150 corporations. After Mark Zuckerberg testified before Congress, oh, you control your information on Facebook. He was absolutely lying to Congress, which, by the way, is a felony. Facebook circumvented FTC regulations preventing this kind of behavior by pretending that the IP was a middleman, right? This is what they say. Well, in our terms of service, it actually says that we can share your location with middlemen, which means your internet service provider, basically, if necessary. But they're saying now that, well, Amazon's a middleman. Microsoft's a middleman. Eh? Really? Well, I mean, no. And they give these corporations the right to read, to write, and to delete your messages. I'm curious what you think about this and what you might be doing about this. All our lines are full right now, but I'll be picking up calls, and lines will become available shortly, and we can talk about this. Meanwhile, Alison Camerota, she used to be on Fox. She used to be on Fox and Friends. She's now on CNN with the New Day show, and she was talking yesterday on her show on New Day about how the Russian troll factory that was, trying to influence the election in 2016 was literally getting their memes from Fox News. She said, I see the clues planted in conservative media where the Russian trolls got their ideas for exactly this sweet spot. I remember she was talking about the special Robert Mueller having worked with radical Islamic groups. Now, this did not happen, but Fox and Friends speculated about it on TV. And she said, and she was on the set at that time, and she said, I remember that being a talking point on Fox and Friends, and I can connect the dots. This is where the Russian trolls figured out, oh, this is going to make an impact, and they're still doing it today. So all this disinformation that everybody's freaking out about because it, quote, came from Russia, it all started with Australian billionaire Rupert Murdoch and his company, Fox News. Meanwhile, Harvey Miller, he's a musician known as DJ Speedy. He's worked with Beyonce and Jay-Z. He's very, very popular, very affluent. He's hit the top of the pile. Very successful guy. He's got a home in Atlanta. He's got a home in Los Angeles. And he was driving from his Atlanta home. He's black, by the way. He was driving from his Atlanta home to his Los Angeles home through Oklahoma when an Oklahoma County Sheriff deputy stopped him on Interstate 40 for failing to signal a turn, changing lanes, or a turn, a full 100 feet before changing lanes. They found $149,000 in cash in his car. No drugs. They said it smelled like drugs. Nope, no drugs. He doesn't use drugs. But they took his cash. He's protesting, as you can imagine. He says, I've never used drugs. I'm not drinking. I wasn't speeding. But I'm black, and I have money. Amazing. Meanwhile, a panel of judges, this is the D.C. Circuit, has dismissed all 83 ethical complaints against Brett Kavanaugh. The complaints include that he lied during his nomination proceedings to be on the Supreme Court, that he made inappropriate partisan statements that demonstrate bias and a lack of judicial temperament, and that he was disrespectful to the senators. The court said, the D.C. District Court said, we can't act on these complaints because he's now on the Supreme Court. He's our boss, not the other way around, so we can't rule on him. Rabbit hole, anybody? Alice in Wonderland? Back with your calls after this.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And the Republican tax cuts just led to a record $1 trillion in stock buybacks. All that money going to the pockets of the very wealthy in America. And welcome back. Artemio in Linwood, California. Am I saying your name right?
Yes.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, yesterday I was watching your show and you were talking about with some other person that there were protests over there in Hungary about Viktor Orban.
Right, Viktor Orban.
Yeah. Do you think with those protests, do you think that Viktor Orban could lose his power or not, or he's going to stay there for another 4 years until 2022?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of your sentence.
Oh, okay. Do you think that Viktor Orban could be overthrown by these protests, or it's gonna be more than that?
Oh, do I think he could be overthrown? I don't know. I'm not an expert on Hungary. I only know what I basically read in the media, and he is actually one of the most. If you look at his popularity ratings in Hungary right now, he has higher popularity ratings than any other European politician. Now, and that's not saying a lot. I mean, you know, Macron is like at 23% or something. You know, Theresa May is like at 30%. Even Angela Merkel had to promise that she wouldn't run for re-election. She's way below 50%. So, you know, saying that he's the most popular guy in Europe is you know, sort of like, you know, it falls into the category of, you know, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. But the reality is that he controls the media completely. Dissent is not allowed, by and large, outside of, you know, just kind of clownish dissent. And he is doing this very, very racist and populist, I'm going to protect you from all these, you know, brown people and Muslim people who are coming in, you know, as the result of the refugee crisis in the Middle East that's the result of global warming. And our wars in the Middle East, you know, our if we had not killed the dictator of Libya, in all probability, you know, Libya wouldn't have been pouring. All these people wouldn't have been pouring through Libya into Greece and southern Italy and ending up in Hungary. And so, you know, Orban has brilliantly exploited this situation and turned it into a highly racialized meme, which is very similar to Donald Trump's meme around the you know, brown people from Mexico on our southern border, although they're Catholics, but still. And so, I mean, that's a tough one to go up against because they're in both Hungary and the United States. You know, there's a fairly large racist contingent. So, Artemio, I don't think that Orban is going to get voted out of office any day soon. The question in my mind is, although 10,000 people did show up 3 days ago in the streets to protest him and his policies, but that's 10,000 people in a country of millions, tens of millions. So the real question is he going to be able to continue holding power in a way that restricts the press and that also keeps wages down? I mean, he's suppressing wages and he's restricting the press. How long can this hold before it cracks or before he turns violent? And being part of Europe, turning violent against your own people is a challenge.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah, because and also I saw like some memes about
Yeah, Artemio, I'm sorry we're out of time, but thank you for the call. You know, Orban is one of the most fascinating characters and one that we really need to pay more attention to, because in my opinion, Steve Bannon and Donald Trump are basically cut from the same cloth. And if Trump could do in the United States what Orban has done in Hungary, he would. And the whole Orban thing really started in many ways with voter suppression. We'll be back. Free Speech TV is in their fund drive right now, their fundraising drive. And so it would be a great time for you to call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. And of course, you can go to the Free Speech TV website and donate there as well. Please be sure to mention the show. There are a lot of great goodies that Free Speech TV is offering right now as part of the funds drive. And in fact, there's quite a few. But the important thing is to call 877-378-8669. Here's some information on one of the things that you can get. With a $20 contribution, and $20 may not sound like a lot of money, but to Free Speech TV, actually it is. This is an entire television network that runs on a little tiny budget. With a $20 contribution, you get a Free Speech TV sticker, 3x8 clear window with a logo of Free Speech TV. Please call now. Jason in Snohomish, Washington. Hey, Jason, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. Here.
Yeah, Jason, get your mouth closer to the microphone, please.
All right, great, thanks. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the issue of the bump stocks. I really think we should be looking to the future of what these guns mean to us, because the AR-15 platform has changed into a weapon that can shoot through walls and everything. And if these guys get their hands on that, I mean, it's just frightening, absolutely frightening. And
well, isn't that what the shooter in Vegas was using? Where he wounded 422 people and killed 59?
The next iteration is something that can shoot through walls. I mean, like the bullet actually counts the revolutions of gravity and how many times it revolves, and then it can blow up inside a room. Whoa. I mean, that's what really frightens me of the future of these weapons. And so,
well, that's the future's. That's the future of munitions. I mean, that's the future of bullets, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and the gun itself, because it paints the target with a laser, tells the bullet what to do.
Amazing.
And all of those things. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And they're not even a safe way to shoot a gun. The foundation of shooting a gun is pulling it against your shoulder. So if it's bouncing around against your shoulder, I mean, it's a safety issue too. I mean,
well, it's lousy for aiming. It's great for spraying a crowd, which is exactly what the guy in Vegas did, and it's crazy that we have that. Jason, thanks for the call. Charles in Crawfordville, Florida. Hey, Charles, what's up?
Hi, Tom. I'm probably one of your critics, but I listen to a lot of different shows just for information, so I can decide what I want to, use my own opinions of what I believe. But I was going to touch on the bump stocks. They're junk. As far as I know, I've been gunsmithing for about 30 years, and you can take an average belt and put it on a certain way on the stock of any semi-automatic and make a bump stock out of it.
What would you wrap it around the back of your shoulder, under your armpit, and then through the trigger guard?
And the bigger the caliber, like 7.62 versus 5.56, it gives more recoil.
But then you're basically using the springiness of your shoulder as the device that is responding to the recoil. And but with a bump stock, you've got an actual spring there. I mean, you damage your shoulder pretty badly after a couple shots if you just used a belt.
The M16, designed by Eugene Stoner, it was designed, and it was called the M16 for military.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Charles, we're out of time. I'm sorry. Thank you for the call.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
We'll be back with more of your calls in just a minute, and if the stars line up, Senator Jeff Merkley is going to drop by and say hi. Three days to Christmas, including today. I mean, until Friday and the end of the day. Friday is the beginning of, for many of us, our Christmas holiday, right? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So here we are. We have 3 days, and you can make your Christmas gift or holiday gift, as the case may be, to Free Speech TV now and today only. Here on Wednesday, the 19th of December, today only, your gift will be doubled. A group of generous and anonymous donors have organized themselves to give $15,000 to Free Speech TV if we can hit that today, 15,000. And that's a big lift, but I think you can do it. If you have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV, if you have not yet stepped up to the plate, if you have not yet participated with Free Speech TV, here's a chance to have a huge impact with even the smallest gift. Even a $10 gift will have a substantial impact today because it'll be doubled. Your $10 gift becomes $20, your $100 gift becomes $200, your $400 gift becomes $800, your $1,000 gift becomes $2,000. Whatever you can afford to give, Free Speech TV needs your help. We need to keep this network running, and we need to keep, you know, the great programming on Free Speech TV on the air. There's really important stuff that we talk about here. You know, well, I'll talk about it on the air today, but, you know, the situation in Syria, you know, it looks to me like Trump is just throwing the Kurds to Turkey, to Erdogan, in exchange for Erdogan shutting up about Mohammed bin Salman, because Trump and his son-in-law need money from the Saudis and their friends, the Emiratis. Where are you going to hear that? I mean, this is like, they're just, and as I said, I'll be talking about that on the air today, but this is the ability, I can't tell you how valuable this is to me. I had a conversation years ago with the head of programming for one of the big television networks here in the United States, who was considering putting me on the air. And basically he said to me, there are certain areas you can't talk about on our network. And basically I said to him, then, you know, I have no interest in being on the network. Free Speech TV, when Free Speech TV first approached me about being on Free Speech TV, I said, I have always been independent. Even when I was with Air America, I had a contract that guaranteed my independence. When I was with RT, I had a contract that guaranteed my independence. I will not go on a network that doesn't say that I can say anything I damn well please. I mean, you can kick me off ultimately, but, you know, you can't tell me what to say and you can't censor me. And Free Speech was like, that's cool. And I was like, sign me up. So here we are. And you just don't find that. I'm telling you, you know, people who have not been in the media business don't realize what a big deal this is. This is huge. And, you know, I've watched friends of mine literally sell out to go on big networks, and it just breaks my heart. It's so important that Free Speech TV keep going. This network, this independent network, this nonprofit network, this network that is supported by you, and not by Boeing or ExxonMobil or Koch Industries. This is really important. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. With a $20 gift, you get the Free Speech TV window sticker. And by the way, that becomes $40 because everything's doubled today. With a $60 gift, you get the Tag You're It coffee mug. I have not gotten mine yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a ceramic mug, a nice, you know, a really high-quality mug. With the $72 gift, you get a copy of the new edition, the 2018 release of Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight by me. With the $120 gift, you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt and sticker. With the $240 gift, you can sign up for, or you can participate in this webinar that Louise and I are doing on personal growth, relationships, and NLP. With a $360, and again, these all get doubled. Your $360 gift becomes $720. With a $360 gift, you get 5 books. It's our 5-book special, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, which is, you know, I've mentioned earlier, Unequal Protection, my book about the Supreme Court, the 14th Amendment, and how corporations took over America. The Thom Hartmann Reader, Rebooting the American Dream, my book of 11 policy prescriptions that Democrats should embrace today to win elections and to transform America back into what it was before Reaganism. And, of course, Greg Palast's The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. And with a $480 gift, you get everything I just mentioned, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, Unequal Protection, The Reader, Rebooting the American Dream, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, Free Speech TV T-shirt, the sticker, the Thom Hartmann Tag You're It coffee mug. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, hang out here in the studio, and you can watch the show happen. And I'll give you a guided tour, show you the equipment room in the back. It's like stepping into the Starship Enterprise. Well, it's not that fancy, actually, but all the wires and stuff. And you can see how we do this show and meet Nate and Sean and Shira and have a great time. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Oh, and with the $1,000 gift, then after we have the show, we'll go over for lunch. So please call now, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann Program. 34 minutes past the hour. On the line with us is one of my senators, and also, even if he wasn't one of my senators, one of the finest men in the United States, Senator Jeff Merkley, the representative from Oregon. Merkley.senate.gov is the website. You can tweet him at SenJeffMerkley, as in Senator. Senator, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much, Tom. Good to be with you.
It is always great having you. Okay, the headline up at Huffington Post: the Trump administration is holding thousands of migrant kids in mass shelters. The federal government has placed most of the 14,300 migrant toddlers, children, and teens in its care in detention centers and residential facilities packed with hundreds or thousands of children. A, tell us what you learned when you went down to the southern border, and B, how is this happening in the United States of America?
I'll tell you, the numbers are going up almost every single day. Back in June, it was 9,000 children. Now we're told it's hitting 15,000. So every few days, the number's up. This is a series of child prisons here in the United States of America that anyone would be appalled to find out about. So I'm glad people are hearing about it. We went down, I took a congressional delegation down to Tornillo, this child prison that was set up in June, supposed to be for 1 month for a couple hundred kids. It's now still there and expanded to 2,700 children, and they've just increased the capacity to take another 1,100 children, in other words, up to 3,800. This is inflicting trauma on these kids, being locked up, never knowing when they're going to get out. Many of them, more than 2,000 of them, have been in over 20 days, which is supposed to be the maximum under the Flores Settlement Agreement that was to protect children from additional harm from incarceration. And it's not being followed there.
I understand also that, this is from NBC reporting some weeks ago, that the reason that they set this up in the desert there as a, quote, temporary facility was to get around Texas state laws, which echo the state laws of pretty much every other state, that children in detention actually have certain rights, and including, the right to access to a social worker, the right to education, things like that, and also that the people running the facility would have to screen the employees to make sure that they are not, violently or sexually abusive toward children, and none of that is happening down there. Do I have that right?
Well, pretty much. By being on federal land, they bypass the state laws, and by calling it a temporary facility, they believe they can bypass, and are certainly doing so in practice, the Flores consent agreement. They told us at least that they are using standard commercial review for the background checks on the employees, but that they are not doing the FBI background check, which takes much, much longer.
Yeah. This is absolutely breathtaking. That our country is imprisoning these little children. And Jeff Sessions, he's no longer our Attorney General, but it echoes on, and Stephen Miller and the Chief of Staff, John Kelly, all at various times have said that we are intentionally inflicting, now I'm paraphrasing obviously, we are intentionally inflicting this pain on these children to cause parents of other children who are south of the border not to want to come here so that their children will not be exposed to this kind of pain. Do I have that right?
You have that absolutely right, and that's why this is coming from such a evil and dark place in the heart of this administration, deliberately inflicting trauma on children, deliberately hurting children to send a political message, not justifiable under any religious tradition, any moral code. And get this, of those kids who are there, we were told that 1,300 of the 2,700 already have sponsors, and the sponsors have gone through the complete bureaucratic measures, including fingerprints, in order to have the kids come to them. But because the Trump administration hasn't completed the paperwork, they just have been trapped there in that child prison.
Yeah, I think I'm sorry.
The
Go
director
ahead.
said that within that if the administration would complete the paperwork within 5 to 7 days, he could have 1,300 children with homes and schools and parks, rather than locked up behind barbed wire.
Yeah, I think the phrase I saw in the Washington Post was that they're slow walking it.
Yes, and so now, today, or actually not today, they announced it yesterday. So we held a press conference. Let me back up. We held a press conference. We demanded Tornillo be closed on Saturday just outside the gates with the barbed wire in the background. We demanded an end to this slow walking of the background checks and paper processing for sponsors, get those kids into homes. And yesterday the administration did respond and said they are changing their policy, that they think several thousand kids will be released here in the next couple days, and that they are considering shutting down Tornillo. And so let's keep pressing, because it isn't just Tornillo. There's also Homestead Child Prison in Florida, and then the additional thousands of children at smaller facilities all around the U.S., total of 15,000 now.
So what can the people watching or listening to this program right now do? I mean, is it time to call 202-225-3121, the congressional switchboard, and ask for their senators or their representatives and say something that you might advise us to say, or is there something else that we can do to push back on this administration's brutal policies?
I think one of the most important things is to circulate this information among your social media connections, your friends and family, that there are 15,000 children in child prisons, and that's no way for America to treat children as they wait asylum hearings, just for people to know. Second of all, when Congress comes back in, because we're basically out now until the 3rd of January, do contact and push. I have a no internments camp in America bill. I have another bill that I'll reintroduce that says Congress can get into these facilities within 24 hours. One thing, because you have to be able to see them as they are, not as a Potemkin village after they've been spruced up for 2 weeks. And another thing is we need to be able to actually talk to the children to see what they're going through. We were not able. 5 members of Congress were there, 3 senators, 2 House members. We could not talk to the children to find out anything about the downsides of what they were experiencing. We were getting the everything's nice and wonderful here version of life. And the other thing is that this is when we were at the Dilley family internment camp, there was a mother and a child who had been locked up there for almost 6 months, who fled gang persecution in Honduras. The daughter was attacked. They fled the next day, and the daughter's birthday was this Tuesday, yesterday, turning 15, quinceañera, a very important day in the life of a young Latin American woman. And if you want to send her a birthday card, anyone out there in your listening audience, if you send it to the Dilley Pro Bono Project, you can find that on the web. They will get that card to her and let her know that she is not forgotten.
How is Dilley spelled?
Dilley.
E-Y. Okay, thank you. Boy, Senator Jeff Merkley, you are doing some really, really great work. But last question before you go. When the Democrats take control of the House of Representatives, you said that you couldn't talk to these kids. I also read in one of the stories that you wanted to talk, or maybe it wasn't you, maybe it was another member of your delegation, wanted to talk to the Border Patrol or whichever, or ICE or whoever, I think it was the Border Patrol officers who had taken custody of this little 7-year-old girl who died from dehydration last week. And the Trump administration refused you access to them. When the Democrats can take control of the House of Representatives, and I realize you're in the Senate, but will they be able to subpoena these people and force them to come and testify before Congress in an open session?
I believe that they will be able to. I don't know the exact rules of the House on which committees have that power, but certainly I hope the House passes a bill that gives us access and oversight. And we do have the power, if the administration doesn't respond, to cut off money to the administration until such access is granted. And so that's another way we can go about it.
Powerful stuff. Senator Jeff Merkley. Senator, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Tom.
It's great talking with you.
Bye-bye.
It's always great talking with you. One of the really good guys, Senator Jeff Merkley. You can tweet him at Sen, as in Senator, S-E-N, Jeff Merkley. And, of course, his website, merkley.senate.gov. Amazing. Ron in Buffalo, New York. Hey, Ron, what's on your mind today?
Yeah. This whole business with the Kurdish situation there, this isn't the first time. We've been using the Kurds as pawns. Do you remember the Pike Commission back in the 70s?
I don't, I know about it. Yeah, I don't remember it from the 70s, but yes.
Well, amongst other things, it investigated the fact that for a while we were supporting the Kurds when we were pro-Iranian at the time. The Shah was still in power.
This goes back to World War II.
Yes, and we were supporting the Kurds against Saddam Hussein. Okay, then the Shah falls, and then when that war between Iraq and Iran come out, we start supporting the Saddam Hussein's ability to repress the Kurds.
Yep.
And there was a whole big investigation about this, and Henry Kissinger was actually called to testify before it. And he makes, I remember that the remark in his, stilted language, Congressman Pike, you can't confuse international geopolitics with social work. In other words, he was just blowing them away, saying, that was then, this is now, we got a new agenda. So this has been going on with these Kurds for and I'm surprised there isn't a real group of hateful, Kurds that wants to come over here and kill Americans. We use them as pawns. It looks like we're going to do it again with this thing with Trump and the situation in Syria.
Yeah, it's not a good situation. I mean, I was opposed to our intervening in Syria in the very first place, but we have been doing it in so many different ways ever since that conflict began. And now that we went into Syria and we armed the Kurds, we trained the Kurds. Actually, probably they trained us as the Peshmerga. Is a legendary fighting force, the Kurdish army. We went in there. We brought them weapons. We gave them weapons. We taught them how to use our particular weaponry. They fought on our behalf. We just have a couple thousand troops there. They're tens or hundreds of thousands of Kurdish fighters in northern Syria here, right on the Turkish border. And they're the ones who, literally thousands of them died fighting against ISIS on our behalf.
And now they run the risk of being slaughtered again.
Yeah, it's incredible. Ron, thank you for the call. Wayne in Chicago. Hey, Wayne, you agree with Trump on Syria?
I want to congratulate Mr. Trump for his courageous stance on pulling out of Syria. Here's the thing, Tom. All of you assume that the U.S. is over there fighting ISIS. Nothing could be further from the truth. The Saudis, United Arab Emirates, Israel, United States, they're over there supporting the jihadists and ISIS in their fight to topple Assad.
Oh, I get that. I get that, but what does that have to do with our first arming and then abandoning the Kurds? This is not all of Syria, Wayne. This is just the northwest corner of Syria, or the northeast corner of Syria.
No, what I'm saying is he can leave some troops over there to help protect the Kurds from Erdogan. He can do that. But other than that,
well, that's what I'm talking about. We only have 2,000 troops in the area.
Well, what I'm saying is our involvement in Syria has not been to protect the Kurds at any way.
No, I get that. We've been exploiting the Kurds, but now that we're leaving, Erdogan is going to come in and wipe them out. And that's
what I'm saying. We're not over there protecting the Kurds right now.
Oh no! By virtue of our presence, Erdogan won't go in there because we're the one. We formed an alliance with the Kurds in northern Syria to fight against ISIS, and we had them essentially do our dirty work, do our fighting for us. And now, if we pull out, as I said, we shouldn't have been in there in the first place. And I agree with your analysis that basically the right-wing governments in the region are aligned with the right-wing religion, the radical Sunni Islam, and it is a complex situation. But I think you can boil it down like that, Wayne. But should we be just throwing at the very least, if we're going to pull out, and this would reassure me that Trump isn't doing this just to get Erdogan to shut up about Khashoggi's murder. At the very least, Trump should say, And, okay, we're going to pull our troops, and if Turkey takes on the Kurds in Syria, we will re-intervene. But he's not saying that. He's not saying that, Wayne.
You're right. You're absolutely right about that. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Wayne. Always good to hear from you. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
More of your calls in just a moment. It's coming up on 12 minutes before the hour. And welcome back. Mike in Fresno, California, watching us on Free Speech TV. Hey, Mike, what's up?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Faintly, but that might be on my end. What's up?
Nope. Oh, darn it. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. 3 quick bullet points, pardon the pun. The AR-15 travels at 3,000 feet per second. The Thompson machine gun only travels at 900 feet per second. The point is, the bullet comes out and starts tumbling, and the amount of damage it does in the tissue is tremendous.
Yeah.
I'm begging you to have somebody on your staff go onto the internet and look up the wound channel where they shoot these bullets into ballistics gel and see the tremendous damage that these things can do.
No, I'm very familiar with it, Mike.
Yeah,
and the energy that is imparted when a bullet hits something, the amount of energy is a function both of the mass of the bullet and the velocity of the bullet. As you correctly point out, the velocity of a bullet coming out of an AR-15 is about 3 times that of typical weapons of that type.
I just got back from Las Vegas, where I took my wife to a gun range and we shot the M16.
Mm-hmm.
When we got the target, some of the bullets went through the target sideways.
Wow.
Are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so the amount of damage with a bullet going into you sideways, it magnifies the amount of harm it can do.
Oh, yeah.
Final point. I really would love for you to get a doctor, a surgeon that had to work on these patients, because I've seen it on TV, and they talk about the horrendous damage that these high-velocity weapons have. And now they're manufacturing bullets that are intentionally designed to fragment upon hitting a target.
Right.
And
yeah, these used to be called cop killer bullets.
Yeah, no, these aren't even cop killers. They're selling them at the gun stores for the deer hunters that are really, really bad.
Oh, wow.
You can't hit a deer, use these bullets, because they'll fragment and they'll take the deer down. And these are the same bullets that are for the AR-15.
Amazing. Mike, thanks for the heads up and for the information. I appreciate it. John in Buffalo, New York. Got a minute to the break, John. What's up?
Hi. I just wanted information, or I had looked into bump stock sometime back, and they tout the fact that they will fire 7 to 750 rounds per minute, and that's pretty much compatible with what military automatic weapons do.
Right, and there's no way you can pull your finger that fast. And if you're firing a semi-automatic weapon, there's no way that you can pull your finger that fast. That's why people are buying bump stocks.
Right, and they fire as fast as they tout them as 700, 750 rounds per minute.
That's amazing. I didn't know the actual number, but
I think that would be an argument that could be used against them. Instead of the mechanical aspects, it's just the rate of fire. I mean,
yeah, that's about 10 shots a second. I mean, you can't even move your finger 10 times a second. It's just physically impossible. That's why these bump stocks are used by mass murderers. John, thank you for the call. Spot on. We'll be right back. Free Speech TV is in their fund drive right now, their fundraising drive, and so it would be a great time for you to call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. And, of course, you can go to the Free Speech TV website and donate there as well. Please be sure to mention the show. There are a lot of great goodies that Free Speech TV is offering right now as part of the funds drive. And in fact, there's quite a few. But the important thing is to call 877-378-8669. Here's some information on one of the things that you can get. With a $20 contribution, and $20 may not sound like a lot of money, but to Free Speech TV, actually it is. This is an entire television network that runs on a little tiny budget. For the $20 contribution, you get a Free Speech TV sticker, 3x8 clear window with a logo of Free Speech TV. Please call now.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
There actually are ways that we can address this problem of the corruption. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And back to your phone calls. Oops, wrong window. There we go. Carmen in Philadelphia. Hey, Carmen, what's on your mind today?
Well, Tom, I was thinking about what you said earlier about the young man being stopped and his money was taken by the police.
Yeah, the $149,000 was taken off a fellow who's, he's quite wealthy, but he's black, and so he was driving through Oklahoma, and the cops thought, aha!
Yeah, well, truthfully speaking, Tom, I'm 65 years old, and it seems like it doesn't matter what a black person's financial status is, what their education is, even their age or gender. I mean, when I go to a Bruce Springsteen concert, I mean, you should see the expressions on people's faces like, you're not supposed to be here.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Or, I mean, I'm really tired of it. I'm 65 years old. I'm retired. I mind my own business. I pay my bills on time. But I'm still looked at because I'm brown-skinned and have dreadlocks like I'm some sort of troublemaking thug. I still get followed in stores. It's just sickening.
Yeah.
It really is sickening. And I wish people would take the blinders off and accept people for their character, not because of skin color or the texture of their hair. It's really frustrating. People don't understand. When I tell some of my white friends and they're like, "Oh, it can't be that bad." Yeah, well, you were not raised. You never had to. You were not raised to realize that there are people in this world who are going to hate you because of the color of your skin and nothing more.
Yeah.
And thanks for letting me vent a little bit, Tom. But that really ticked me off when you mentioned about what happened to that young man in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and Carmen, this is a poison in the bloodstream of white people. I mean, this is obviously it's devastating people of color in this country. I think this is devastating our nation. And white people have to own up to this, and white people have to recognize this and understand it, and hear your voice, Carmen, and do something about it.
Oh yes, you are absolutely right. Now, I'm thankful that there are some people who I can consider friends who listen to me and say, "Well, I can't relate to what you're going through, but I feel so terrible that people still are that freaking narrow-minded."
Yeah, put me in that category. Carmen, thank you so much for the call. It's great to hear from you. I really appreciate it. And this is real. I mean, this is real life. That people in our country, Americans, are having to put up with this crap. It's nuts. Anyhow, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. In the meantime, don't forget, democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires you. So pitch in, help out, show up, tag you're it. We'll see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
From UN headquarters.